Alright, what's going on YouTube? CL versus K4sva, one of the more balanced matchups over here. CL, a very good Chinese player versus K4sva, who is possibly the best Turkish player out there and has had an awful lot of improvement over the last 1.5-ish year. So they'll be battling it out in this round of 64 clash. The home maps are as follows. One player will have Gold Rush and Slope, the other one is going to have Bay and Cross. Unfortunately, this post is telling us no information about who picked which. So unless I dig very deep into the rulebook and find out which was the draft order, I wouldn't be able to figure it out myself. So the easiest way is to just take a look at the Arabia, and then after that it's going to be obvious who has which home map. So anyways, speaking of civilizations, we have Khmer and Franks banned. Both of these civs have been rarely banned throughout this tournament so far. Chinese and Mayans are the snipes, so both players snipe what is possibly the Arabia civilization of the opponent. Vikings, Huns, Berbers, Italians, Persians, Tatars for K4sva will be the civs. Other side, Aztecs, Magyars, Japanese, Mongols, Malians, and Lithuanians will be the lineup for CL. This is definitely, as I said, one of the closer matchups. I don't know the exact seeds, but I would think that this might be something like 29 versus 33 or something like that. So with that in mind, let's get going with the first game over here, which is Arabia. CL is going to be playing in blue as Lithuanians on the left, and right side is going to be K4sva's Vikings in red. So we have seen a couple of Vikings plays on Arabia so far in Hidden Cup 4 qualifiers, but it wasn't really an extensive use of Vikings. Other side, Lithuanians is sort of surprising on this map, I would say. I'm not saying it's a bad decision, but it's definitely surprising for Arabia, because even though the relic positions are sort of fixed, it is still not something that gives you like an amazing boost to Arabia compared to other maps. So Lithuanians seem to give you a lot more bonuses on hybrid maps, for example, because you can go for the fast dock. So I feel like it is something that is just much better on other maps. It's not bad on Arabia, but there's a better use of Lithuanians elsewhere, sort of. It looks like K4sva is actually coming in here to potentially lame a little bit. K4sva is definitely one of those players who is, number one, just missing those sheep by a tile, so he almost took 2 sheep over there. But he's definitely one of those players who isn't shying away from laming when he feels like he's actually the weaker player in this matchup. As I said, the two players are pretty close in skill. K4sva plays an awful lot of 1v1s. Not so much for CL. I think CL is more of the team game player over here, as K4sva is preparing a Drush. So, is that a Drush? Yeah, it is a Drush. So, honestly, I don't even know which of these players are higher seeded, so they're pretty close in skill, I would say. Anyways, it looks like we're going to have a Drush as well from CL, which is a little bit surprising, and it is probably even going to be a Man-at-Arms play now. It's late for a Drush, so it has to be Man-at-Arms, although if you play Man-at-Arms, you don't unpop your militias like that. Man-at-Arms play from CL is definitely surprising, I would say. Now, as far as I know, CL is also a player that likes to do a lot of towers, so that is a possibility for him. And it looks like here comes K4sva's Drush. So CL may need to take his own militias and fight this one, unless K4sva just leaves those berry villagers alone. I think he just wants to push the wood line now with the scout. Now that scout is actually trapped within those walls with those villagers, so K4sva isn't able to get anything out of that. It seems like K4sva is trying what seems to be a Drush FC potentially, but that may be a little bit ambitious. These villagers do have the hill over here for CL, so one villager goes down, trade off to militia. That's already a good Drush though. In fact, if you kill a second one, that's an excellent Drush. Oftentimes it is said that you Drush to pretty much delay your opponent at pushing you. So if you can just basically pin him down inside his own base, that's already an achievement. Killing 2 villagers from a Drush is excellent. The problem that you're going to be facing is that I don't think that K4sva actually expected a Man-at-Arms play here from the Lithuanian player. So this is definitely something that is at least unexpected. Now the thing is that I'm not a big fan of Man-at-Arms archers from Lithuanians though against Vikings, because the thing is that Vikings will just do everything better when it comes to Man-at-Arms archers play, or just overall archers in later stages. Now K4sva doesn't have a lot of HP on that scout, so he's just trying to harass right now as much as possible. He may wait until he reaches fuel age to come back for some added harassment. And it seems like we are gonna have Veils being pulled. As I said, CL is one of those old school Chinese players that really aren't shying away from going for towers, and even though towers have been nerfed, it is absolutely not unheard of to see Chinese players going for towers. So, yeah, if you talk about the Hidden Cup and, you know, identifying players within Hidden Cup, if you see a player that is going for a lot of tower plays, that is potentially one of the Chinese players. Mr. Yo also used to do that, but I feel like Mr. Yo has actually cut down that a lot more. So really, Yo is no longer that super aggro anymore with the tower plays. Vivi still is, and CL, for example, is. Obviously, Mr. Yo is the only invited player, and since I don't want to spoil other qualifiers, I'm not going to just say who qualifies or who not, or who already fell out of the tournament, because obviously I've casted a lot of qualifiers already, so I know some results, but as I said, I'm trying to do all of these qualifier casts so that they are completely spoiler-free and independent from each other. So even though I'm casting this after other sets, I will try to make sure that they are as spoiler-free as possible. That being said, K4sva tried what seems to be a Drush FC here with 31 villagers, but his resources are nowhere close to actually being able to go up to Castle Age over here. So food may be alright, but he's gonna have to do some heavy farming, and he doesn't actually have any gold right now in the bank. In fact, his gold mine is being lost here, and he's getting a couple of houses down. He's not gonna get housed for probably half of the game now. He's going to get 80 population space. That's sick, and he's got a bunch of house foundations over there. Layer after a layer of house walls. That's actually a nice counter tower, unless it's actually within the range of CL's tower. If it's actually within range, it's a disaster. It's a stable up, so both players are playing tricky over here. It's pretty rare to see Lithuanians playing men-at-arms. Men-at-arms towers, not so unheard of from Chinese players though, and did I mention that the tower is a disaster if it is in the range of the opponent's tower? You could still force build it. Nice move over there to drag the villagers to the right and bring 2 villagers back. That was beautiful from K4sva. But it seems like, I'm not sure if this was K4sva's original plan, to go for Drush FC Knights and potentially like a Hoang Rush. But he's going to play scouts over here, and it seems like his Drush is going to be, or like his Drush was alright, but his Drush FC is pretty much going to be crippled here, so he's gonna have to settle with some more Feudal Age plays. That being said, the tower play for CL is actually pretty heavy on the Chinese player's eco, whereas keep in mind that K4sva is Vikings, and Vikings economy is absolutely sick. So even though many of these farms will run out soon because they were dropped without Horse Color, now it's Double Brax, Horse Color, and the free wheelbarrow for the Vikings player. And if you take a look at CL, CL is already 2 villagers behind because K4sva killed 2 with the Drush. So if you compare the villager counts now, what you will see is that with villager losses and the wheelbarrow advantage for K4sva, that's like a almost perfect 5.5 villagers lead for K4sva overall. So K4sva definitely has an eco lead over here for himself. The problem with the scouts here is that the men-at-arms will actually be pretty decent against them, and you see that CL is bringing in skirms though. Now, here is the moment where the scouts could actually prove pretty useful, because unlike the archers that K4sva could make against the men-at-arms that died to the skirms, the scouts should have no trouble cleaning up the skirms, and eventually K4sva could commit to just killing this man-at-arm push with the scouts he has. He tried counterattacking, but CL is now coming in here with the stone walls. Chinese players are also known for placing a lot of stone walls, so especially Tim is the player that is just very well known for that, but he's not the only player who is doing that. So yeah, many Chinese players are playing in this one, I believe. So as I said, once again, without spoilers, you have players like iBuyPower, Bad Koala, Tim, the Fat Dragon, so many Chinese players are in the qualifiers right now. Mr. Yo is the only invited player in the main event from China. Anyways, it seems like K4sva is going to take that gold over here, and he's very heavy on stone. Both players seem to have a very long Feudal Age over here, so K4sva now bringing in the scouts, still no upgrades on them, but that doesn't really matter right now for him because he's still going to clean this one up. Villager counts are now getting evened out because K4sva is having a lot more TC idle time, and the thing is that he's gonna be forced to delete 3 farms over here because that tower is actually denying the farms. However, now for K4sva, I think the best case scenario is that he intercepts these villagers. Because the thing is that otherwise your scouts will be pretty useless in Castle Age, so you kind of have to use them for something. Anyways, it seems like CL might actually try pushing from the other side, but K4sva is now getting his Castle Age advantage in here, and the thing is that what scouts could give you if K4sva beats his opponent to Castle Age is it gives you an advantage of map control, and if you have map control, you can go for forward siege drop immediately. If you think about how Huang plays, for example, with the Huang rushes, that's basically the same thing. First couple of knights will secure you a little bit of room, and that is going to be what allows you, as K4sva deletes the houses, deletes the poly side over here, so that he's able to access these villagers, and that's actually a smart move here. It's actually pretty expensive for him to delete 3 houses like that, but the benefit that you're getting from potentially killing a couple of villagers here is actually pretty enormous. So at the end of the day, I think this is absolutely something I can justify, and K4sva could actually just drag his scouts closer to his tower so the spearman will be taken down by the tower, something that he's not doing and he's just willing to kill the villagers. So instead, he trades off the scouts to the wheels, which I think is completely fine here as well. K4sva's got a crazy food eco, by the way, but more importantly, he is going to be on the way towards Castle Age. He's got a stable, and yeah, he's missing a blacksmith. That's what I was searching for as well. Not the ideal situation for K4sva, and it turns out that CL is actually going up a little faster over here, dropping a stable as well. Now, things will get complicated here because what you were hoping for if you're K4sva is that you will beat your opponent to Castle Age here, and you will get knights faster, and you will just destroy a field age units with. But considering that CL is on the way to Castle Age as well, it may just turn into a knight war, and Lithuanian knights will be just much better than the Viking knights. Like, Viking knights will not have bloodlines, as you see over here. No bloodlines available. Bloodlines will be available for the Lithuanian knights over there, which is already, I think, a huge advantage. That being said, K4sva actually has a pretty considerable eco lead. So it's 5 villagers. Now, even though wheelbarrow is in for both players, 5 vills, and he's only behind by 20 seconds. So that is about a 4 villagers lead, which is basically accounting for the villagers killed. I would like to add that K4sva could have more villagers lead right now. He could have 7, but because he had a lot of TC idle time, he is no longer able to possess that big of a lead. Anyways, he's gonna be able to access that gold mine. That was a nice reaction for him, and it seems like we may have... Is that a second barracks? Yeah, it's going to be pikeman and knight. Now, that's an interesting combination, but I actually like it quite a bit for Vikings, because the Viking pikeman will have a lot of extra HP on them, and pikeman knight might be something that CL will have a little trouble dealing with. That being said, CL is sitting on a lot of resources. Like, I would borderline say that he could actually go into Imperial with these resources right away, even though he will definitely not do that because there's absolutely no point going into Imperial here for him, but he will be able to drop an additional TC. He's late with that scaleboarding that should have come in already while he was going up, and even more importantly, it seems like this villager is going to get sniped down unless the knight shows up and cleans this one up, but this monastery has to go up for CL. That's so crucial, and for K4sva he needs to get his knights over there and deny that monastery. What K4sva was trying to do here is just delay the time until his knight is getting killed, so he can pin that villager inside the tower as long as possible. That was the idea. Just make sure that villager is squeezed into that tower as long as possible, because he wants to have his own knight come in here and stop that villager from making that monastery, but I think the monastery is gonna go up just in time. Indeed, so K4sva's gonna need his own monastery. There is a massive overchop here, and now CL will find this other gold mining operation. It's worth noting that K4sva is still unable to access his primary gold over here, so that's something that is worthy of consideration. He's gonna be able to access that other gold mine though, so he should be fine with that. And it's also going to be important to see if that villager gets picked off, because the thing is that if it's just knights and monks from CL, then K4sva can defend against that. I think CL is going to need siege as well to this one, but that would be the fourth villager that is trying to make the siege workshop. CL is just repairing that wall from time to time again, but the other wall is slowly going down as well, and indeed the villager could go down, and now monk pops out on the other side of the monastery. Nice micro from CL, gets a conversion, a villager goes down, and so will the tower. So I think the next step for K4sva is that maybe he could think about just trying to clean that monastery up as fast as possible. But there is apparently a hole in the front of his base, something that I don't think that he knew about. And the knights will be coming in now. CL, however, doesn't have a lot of upgrades on those knights. In fact, I'm very surprised how bad the upgrades are for CL. 100 HP only, so no bloodlines, no attack upgrades, only +1 defense, and he's floating a lot of resources, so nothing really justifies skipping those other than just going for 4 TC boom. As I said, many old school players do this, especially old school Chinese players, this Stonewall into 5 TC boom type of a thing. However, Vikings player is gonna have 3 TCs over here as well, and like, I'm starting to feel more and more that CL is thinking about going into Imperial here. Because now you could actually start thinking about it with the increasing eco that you're having. So he's not queuing up knights, he's not doing anything, honestly. Now, if you're K4sva, you will soon have to start pushing out of your base, because you have to keep in mind that giving Lithuanians relics would be a disaster. And CL is already coming out with monks to pick those up. 2 relics here should be easily accessible for CL. So the question is if K4sva is able to take this one, because the other 2 should be in the hands of K4sva. Who takes down the monastery over here. I think that this is the right thing to do, even though this is going to delay him quite considerably when it comes to making a push. He has an even villager count compared to his opponent, and CL, however, much smaller army, but CL is sitting behind stone walls, so you really wonder if, you know, CL is just going to turtle this one slowly out. Now, the thing is that one thing that Lithuanians will not really have an answer for, at least not an easy answer, is Berserks in Imperial. So Berserks with Chieftains could be something that is a little bit troublesome for Lithuanians. I don't remember if Lithuanians have hand cannons or not. I think they do. But still, Berserk Onager could be quite tough. Like, hand cannon, light cav, and bombard cannon might be able to fight that. Anyways, speaking of CL, he's going to lose his blacksmith over here, which means that he's going to have to rebuild this if he wants to go up. And now he wants to get a siege workshop down for himself. So indeed, he's thinking about going up here. And honestly, since K4sva made a lot of military over here, it seems like K4sva isn't actually close to waking up. Now, if K4sva stops idling his production buildings, especially the buildings that are not the TCs, and even cancels 1 or 2 vills here, he's not going to be very far away from imping himself. So I would think that he's going to have like a minute or so deficit into Imperial, potentially. The gold is going to be more concerning. Like, the food is fine, even though, by the way, he's got some very inefficient farms. So these are 3rd layer farms here. Those are very bad. So you want a mill over here somewhere, I would think. Anyways, K4sva will try to counterattack, and he picks off a monk. CL opens up his walls to bring in a relic. That's a little bit risky, but he's gonna get away with that. That's the first relic for CL, and if you're K4sva now, you're just trying to, since your opponent isn't making army, you're just trying to pin him inside his base and make sure that you pick up all the relics over here. There's a random skirm here, cleaning up the pikeman. That's actually weird. And CL still not on the way to Imperial, which is surprising. Okay, now he clicks up, but he could have clicked up like 2 minutes earlier, and now K4sva wants to go for a siege workshop push. The thing is that by the time that siege workshop push starts to materialize, CL is already going to be at least halfway up to Imperial, and Cavalier, especially with the extra attack, is going to start stomping the Vikings. And here's the problem, as I said, for K4sva. When it comes to Knight versus Knight wars, Lithuanians will be very happy about that, because the Lithuanian Knights will be just much better over the course of the game. So it's not really a big deal for the Lithuanian player to go for a Knight war. It's not so great for the Viking player. Especially if this warrior gets intercepted by the Knights over here, which is not going to happen. Or will it? 2 Knights detached, and that lady is history. Denied at 92%. That's so unlucky for K4sva, who was trying to get the relics for himself, especially the middle one over here, but was unsuccessful as well because the Knights picked off the monks. So CL is actually doing a very nice job just controlling those little groups of Knights he has. He's definitely outnumbered. It's 8 Knights to 17. The question is that, as I said, will K4sva be able to compensate for his later Imperial? He's going up right now, and that's going to be a castle on that hill, and CL doesn't have his own castle. So if this castle goes up, that actually buys some time for K4sva. However, K4sva is going to have to put a lot of villagers to make this one, because the thing is that his opponent will be like halfway into cavalry upgrade at minimum by the time this castle finishes. So indeed, K4sva is going to have to take a fight over here, and he is teching into range. So I would think he wants to switch back into arbalests now. Monks are coming in here. As I said, if you're K4sva, you kind of have to take this fight, as ugly as it looks like. Now he brings in the pikemen. That would be an idea. Bring in the pikemen to stab down the monks, because it's better to lose a pikeman than it is to lose a knight. However, here's the deal. Those cavalier, or soon-to-be Cavalier could just go straight into K4sva's base. K4sva's gonna have to take this fight over here, I believe, as best as possible. He has +2/+2, so there is no reason not to take this fight here. He's up against +1/+2. He could easily take this one. But now it's going to be more and more pikemen. Realizes that his opponent is going for cavalry. His base is going to be rewalled, but it's only a thin layer of palisades. Sides. And here we go, knight fight. Once again, I'm not sure why K4sva is retreating here. He should know that his opponent is going to get cavalier in a matter of moments. He's trying to bring in the pikemen, but pikemen won't be amazing against cavalier. So what you need here is chieftains immediately as an upgrade, which I think is the castle age upgrade, right? So you could grab that immediately. Castle comes in here for CL, and he will make traps right as it goes up. And right now, CL is just waiting with his army over here to make the push, even healing up his army, which is, I think, a very, very good move from him. And honestly, he may even click Paladin now. Looking at those resources, that seems like Paladin resources to me. There is Paladin indeed. So he's gonna wait, but this actually gives some time for K4sva, who, by the way, is technically controlling the majority of the relics on the map. So this one is not something that CL can pick up. I think K4sva is bringing in relic number 2 soon. He picked this one up already. And this one is also gone. CL only has one relic here. Now, here's the deal, as I said, those walls are kind of made out of paper, or more importantly, palisades, if you may. And if those pikemen actually had chieftains, they would be pretty devastating against the cavalier. And that's basically what K4sva can hope for, that his pikemen will be able to take good engagements over here, and the cost efficiency will be here for him. He's up to Imperial, gets chieftains right now, but he could have gone for chieftains while he was going up, because indeed, this is the Castle Age unique tech. You see that with the silver crown. The golden crown is the Imperial Age unique tech, the silver crown is the Castle Age unique tech. And for Vikings, the Berserk play here would be extremely strong. Oh, Blacksmith walls, look at that from K4sva. That's something that's quite rare. But basically what you're doing here is just making sure there's a high HP building behind your walls. So it isn't because he wants to have all those Blacksmith upgrades, even though it's going to be helpful for that as well. But Chieftains is in, and that means that these pikemen will soon be fully upgraded. They're still missing Blast Furnace, and I think the final armor upgrade as well. And yeah, Vikings do not have Halberdier, but there is something that compensates them for that, and that's Chieftains, which gives their infantry, I think, at least the pikemen and the Berserks, I'm not sure about the swordsman, attack bonus against cavalry. It's not as big as the Halberdier's attack bonus, but Chieftains pikemen with the 66 HP are pretty comparable to Halberdiers, I think slightly weaker. Anyways, it's a lot of paladins out there, and that castle is slowly going down. K4sva getting a huge amount of pikemen out on the field, tries to tech into Arbalest as well, but like the ideal scenario here for him would be Berserks, because Berserks would eat that cavalry. I still don't know why he didn't take that fight with his knights before, because he could have traded his kind of crappy Castle Age knights to knights that were about to be upgraded to Cavalier or so. And let's see what CL is up to. Like, CL could make skirms against all these pikemen. That's a lot of pikemen, man. Like, what am I seeing? Is this Flemish Revolution? 72 pikemen on the field. Now, if CL had 5 onagers here, this would be a game over immediately. We'll see what he can do against fully upgraded Lithuanian pikemen with chieftains, or fully upgraded Lithuanian paladins with chieftains, pikemen. The cost efficiency is on the side of K4sva. However, those paladins are very, 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 very beefy. That being said, CL just lost the majority of his paladins, and that was a lot of paladins going down. And one thing that CL will not have very soon is gold. He's out of gold. And without, like, yeah, you see, he went for this gold mine, that's not going to happen. He's still mining gold here, kind of halfway done with that gold mine. Tries to counterattack over here with the paladin. Let's see if the quick walls will happen in time, they won't. So there is actually going to be an opening here, and the paladins could cause so much damage. So this is still doable for CL if he's able to do a lot of damage with those paladins, because there's nothing that can defend this one. And this is an excellent trade. Just 8 paladins inside the eco, and look at this mass migration from K4sva, who's having much, much more voyage idle time over here. And the thing is that K4sva doesn't have siege to back this one up. He doesn't have trebs, he doesn't have siege rams. And the thing is that if that castle doesn't go down, he would have trebs by now. And the pikemen will actually clean this one up, but K4sva's eco has taken a very, very significant beating over here. And it seems like the Paladins are not running out just yet. Villagers working for the enemy over here. If they keep that gate open, that's a disaster for K4sva. Holy smokes, and now the Paladins are camping the gate and they will run in. That hurts so much once again for K4sva, and it seems like the mobility of the Lithuanians will just eat him over here. Now it's 50 idols for K4sva, and honestly, if these Paladins raids don't happen, then K4sva could even be in a better position, because right now CL doesn't have an answer to the pikemen. And they managed to happen because of this gate being opened by the villagers. They managed to happen because of these quick walls were a little too late, and small things like that could actually decide the outcome of Age of Empires games, because now K4sva's eco is very, very weak. That being said, he still has a lot of pikemen on the field, but there is no siege support. If he had siege rams to support this one and actually start knocking down TCs, knocking down walls, it would be a completely different scenario. And now we are seeing potentially a skirmisher switch indeed from CL, but more importantly, I feel like the advantage that CL is really having here is eco. Like, the eco of K4sva is so weak, 82 villagers at this stage with 17 idols, he's got like 60-ish villagers working for him, and even though it's Vikings eco, his opponent is sitting on 124, and even though that guy also has an awful lot of idle time on his villagers, so he has got 40 idols as well. Still, the eco of CL is better than K4sva's eco. That being said, the Paladins were pretty much massacred by the pikemen, so CL has a positive KD, but if you actually would look at how many resources were actually destroyed by one player, which was a thing in Capture Age before, not sure why we can't click this, but there was a tab that actually showed that. Maybe it's not in this version, but anyways, there was a tab that actually said the value spent and destroyed, and I would say that probably K4sva had a lot more cost-efficient engagements overall. So, he killed, I don't know the exact number, but I would think something like 50-ish Paladins with Halberdiers, and that's something that you always have to keep in mind. He's gonna have to reboom here. Oh, K4sva, that hurts so much, even more. Now, these guys will not be able to do anything here. In fact, I would say they're trapped. They're actually trapped over here. So, that's just gonna be a cleanup. You can say it's calculated. Look at that crossbow denying this gold mine. I think K4sva knows that his opponent is actually starving for gold very soon. The question is, what can K4sva do against the skirmisher switch? And the short answer is basically nothing. If he had a strong eco here and he would have like 2 or 3 castles up, that would be the perfect time for a berserk switch. In fact, a berserk switch would have been perfect long ago, because berserks would melt the skirms. They're actually pretty good against cavalry as well. So that would be absolutely doable for K4sva, but he has to focus on rebooming right now. Pure skirms won't work for him, that's for sure. So he's gonna need something that actually kills or pure pikes won't work, because the skirms could just pretty much overrun him. But CL's eco now is having a massive advantage over K4sva's eco. So 147 against 97, that's a 50 villagers lead. And now CL is taking more and more gold over here. And the thing is that Lithuanian trash units are also very good. So it's not like if CL runs out of gold, he's gonna be in trouble. Look at this peaceful army over here. Just chilling right next to the wood line of CL over here. And it looks like we'll have a champion switch, which also makes sense, honestly. If CL runs out of Paladins, the champions will work very nicely against the skirmishers, and that's a lot of pikemen. I mean, a lot of pikemen. 61 pikemen, man. That's crazy. And these guys will be poking down villagers. So, this game may not be over just yet, because the thing is that K4sva is gonna have time to switch into swordsmen. And, no way. He actually opened this one up. No? I think this is walled in now, but there is an opening over there. K4sva is still sitting on a lot of gold, by the way. A surprising amount of gold, and he hasn't even taken this neutral gold mine over here. Now, K4sva is gonna have to deny that gold over here, because you can see that CL is starving for gold really badly. So, I guess he just wants to keep on pushing with the Paladins, but the win condition now for K4sva is being able to deny those gold mines. And if he's able to do that, this one, and this one over here, eventually his opponent is going to run out of gold, and that's gonna be a disaster for CL. K4sva slowly rebooming over here, 120 villagers. Both players having a pretty nice population count overall, and CL is slowly running out of gold, but he still has about, I would say, 2k-ish available. And also worth noting that the neutral stones are on this side, so this is something that CL could also pick up and sell for gold if he wants to. K4sva is waiting right now, so it is understandable that he's not pushing this gold mine, he's not taking this fight. He's waiting for two-handed swordsman and champion. Because he wants to take one good engagement where he just eats all those skirmishers and then start counterattacking this one. There is still 30 paladin on the field though, and that's going to be an interesting one to take a look at. Up against 21 swordsmen and 53 pikemen. Now, as I said, I don't know if chieftains affect swordsmen as well. That's going to be an interesting question. But now they start popping out, and Viking swordsmen, as I said, they even have more HP, so they're actually pretty devastating against skirms. And I think one very, very underrated thing that K4sva is doing is stonewalling himself, and that actually helps so much over here, because it prevents his opponent from actually raiding him to death. That being said, CL will send just a bunch of villagers forward, and he wants that gold for himself. K4sva waiting for champion right now, and then he will probably try to engage this one. Also tries a castle up, and if he's given time, he's gonna start switching to berserks, and berserks will eat everything that CL has right now. They're much, much better at dealing with cavalry as well than swordsmen are. And here comes the fight once again. Kept Ram on the way for CL, but I'm not sure what he's going to be able to achieve with that. That's actually a pretty good fight. That's an amazing fight for K4sva. He's using most of his pikemen against the paladins. Paladins chewing through them though. They do have free relics. CL has free relics here. Man, that is a difference maker. I thought CL has like one or two. And that's a disaster for K4sva suddenly. His entire army goes down. I don't know how CL was able to grab that many relics, because K4sva was in a position to deny them. This is gonna hurt so badly for K4sva, because the thing is that I was about to say that CL is going to throw away a lot of paladins to the pikemen, and that's going to hurt so badly because replenishing them is going to be harder and harder. As I said that, I also think that it is really sloppy from K4sva that he never actually contested that gold mine up until this point, where he's going to start getting a castle up over there. That's a very good decision overall for him. But now it's +7 paladins, which is crazy. K4sva quick walls this one very, very nicely. And there's more champions on the field, more pikemen out. Berserks is the name of the game, K4sva. The problem is getting to Berserks in time. That's the question. CL, I think, is still sitting on enough gold to overrun this game if K4sva doesn't have something against that. Nice quick walls once again from K4sva, and those paladins are just unable to access any reasonable position to engage. That's the thing. And CL, as I said, is more and more desperate for gold. Obviously, he's still sitting on 1000 gold, and he still has gold in this gold mine. Big fight coming up over here. But we shouldn't underestimate the fact that eventually he's running out of gold. And that's something that is worth considering. These are not really efficient engagements for him. So it seems like he's clapping the pikemen, but K4sva is just spamming pikes into this one, and CL is down to 8 paladin. And those 8 paladins will actually try to run in here. Nice quick walls once again from K4sva. I think he needs to force lock those gates though, because the villagers are just running out and opening up the gates over here. But look at this. Now it's 19 paladin once again. CL has like one more wave of paladins left in him. Actually, 2 more waves, I think. So K4sva needs to hold out for 2 more waves. As I said, just a couple of berserks would help so much for him, and I don't know why he's not doing that. He's got 2 castles. 2 castles of berserks, and berserks they're actually pretty fast, so you could get a couple of berserks out and they would start taking down those skirmishers and paladins at the same time. That's the difference. Pikemen and swordsmen take down the skirms and the paladins, respectively. But the berserks kill both. And you could just make a couple of berserks here, and that would already help you by a massive margin. You have a lot of gold, so you could really make a case for those berserks over there. And K4sva still has a lot of gold in this gold mine. Look at this. This is 1.6k untouched gold. He also has a lot of gold over there that he could take, so really, just make berserks, man. Berserks is one of the best late game units for Vikings. There isn't really a lot of skirms on the field, but now it's hand cannons, which is, I think, I wasn't sure if Lithuanians have hand cannons, but now this is very, very problematic for K4sva, because he will definitely need something that deals with the hand cannoneers, and that can be either like absolute junk Viking light cavalry, as elite berserks is coming in. But that berserk switch may be just a little too late, because now we have hand cannoneers on the field. So finally berserks are in. Pikemen could still take a hill advantage over here and take a fight against the paladins. If K4sva is paying attention, he sees the light cav. And light cav is a clear sign that CL is running out of gold. And that means that if CL is running out of gold, you can really make a case for Potentially your Berserks only, because your opponent is gonna have, like, honestly, Berserk and Viking Lightcav could work out here. Because the thing is that you're still sitting on more gold than your opponent does, and you know that, like, you had a bunch of gold over here, you also have a lot of gold over here, and k4sva is willing to take that now, and, as I said, Berserk's slowly marching in here, as k4sva is trying to secure more and more map control for himself. This is definitely one of the more interesting Arabia games, and I was right saying that these two players are actually pretty close in seeding. I don't have exact numbers right now. I mean, look at that. k4sva's got, oh, so many Berserks queued up over there. But he is pop-capped. That's the thing. He's pop-capped so much that he's unable to get the Berserks out on the field. But here's the thing. He can start raiding over here because his opponent is very, very heavy on hand cannoners. And hand cannoners aren't great, you know, just chasing stuff down. So swordsmen marching in like this, especially if they have Arzon, which seems they do, they can take down TCs very fast. There's going to be a counterattack coming in here from CL, but Berserks will just eat the light cavalry, and the thing is that this is one of those typical scenarios where CL has already used up all the gold that was accessible for him, whereas k4sva is still sitting on a lot of gold. So if you would cancel all those Berserks and you would... There is 1,600 gold worth untouched gold mine over here. And there is also about probably 1,500 over here as well. So k4sva could easily be sitting on 2k gold right now if he didn't have these units queued up, whereas his opponent is pretty much out of gold. And gold units will beat non-gold units. In fact, numbering for k4sva, maybe for skirms, maybe for arbs. Arbs could make sense here to snipe down the hand cannoneers. Not a lot of them, but a couple of them mixed in could actually be helpful sniping down the hand cannons, because it seems like CL is not really heavy on skirms anymore. There's 10 skirms on the field, so a couple of arbs would actually make sense. And this is getting cleaned up as well. CL also down to 87 villagers, something I didn't notice. I saw villagers getting killed here, and there were villagers getting killed here as well, but CL's eco now is very, very low. And the thing is that, as I said, one of the underrated things that k4sva has done is stonewall his map. And the Hussar raids are not going to happen because of that. k4sva now is also very, very good with the quick walls. So, quick wall after quick wall, and these Hussar aren't able to run inside. The only thing I don't like is that he's keeping many of those gates open with villagers, and that can hurt. But look at this. He's killing wheels, and in the meanwhile, his opponent is trying to fight against gold units with trash. k4sva runs out of stone, and that means he's gonna lose that castle, which hurts so badly for him. So, the thing is that trash units versus gold units works well if you actually have the eco lead, but if you don't, then that is going to get more and more worrisome. And if those champions find that woodland of their, k4sva could push down CL into something like 50 vills. That's actually a big paladin push there on the north, though. I think the final wave of paladins is still there, and k4sva is preparing the Arbalest Switch, or Elite Skirms, more likely. Now, the Lithuanian Elite Skirms will be better once they have Tower Shield, but that's not something that CL is actually getting. A couple of villagers will be killed here. There is still a big blob of paladins available for the engagement. This is definitely one of the more interesting long and grindy games over here. Hussar are also going down pretty rapidly, and as I said, I feel like CL is taking a lot of very inefficient engagements. Despite that, he has a positive KD, but that is mostly because his opponent only goes for like pikemen. Now it's Berserks. I don't like that he's suiciding the Berserks into the hand cannoneer though. He should have a little bit more skirms support for them. On the north, it seems like he actually is able to clean this one up. Villager count 110 compared to 89. And remember that k4sva is still sitting on an awful lot of gold, but he was missing the defense upgrades for those guys for a long time, and there is still 52 pikemen on the field somewhere, so CL is trying to use those paladins and light cav wisely, but he's just being overrun by pikemen. I mean, overrun in capital letters. Now, worth noting that he's still sitting on 3 relics compared to 2, so in the very, very long run, that's going to be starting to show, but k4sva still has access to this gold mine and this gold mine. And gold units eventually will start having their effect on the game, so once k4sva is able to get to like a reasonable amount of Berserks, and skirms over here, he's gonna be able to start cleaning this one up. k4sva still needs +4 defense, I believe, for the skirms though, and he's getting pushed back. It's 80 army compared to 47, double the military value over here for CL, and that's something that we haven't discussed just yet. CL also dropping guard towers over here to secure map position, and one thing that k4sva never had to his pushes was siege support. He never had siege support, and CL does. So CL is now knocking down production buildings, vital production buildings, so to say. Because now K4sva is down to 3 archer ranges, which means that he basically has no realistic answer to the hand cannoneers, trying to focus them down as much as possible. But he is dropping in village numbers quite heavily. He's only having 26 on food as well. Oh, look at this. This is K4sva's food eco. Man, it seems like he never actually pressed the auto reseed button. And if you are ever wondering if auto reseed is worth it, just look at this. Obviously he's losing a game of pikeman and skirmisher spam when he has 26 on food. These were all farms one day, but they are no longer farms, and this is gonna be a heartbreaking defeat for K4sva if he loses this game, because I feel like he was actually getting close to a point where he was about to grab the upper hand. Because CL was taking very inefficient engagements, but now he's just running out of resources here, and he would have so much gold. He's sitting on 1500 gold, but he runs out of food, and that hurts so much. I think that he was just so busy with all those quick walls to prevent the Hussar from running into his eco and like microing his army that he completely forgot about his eco in the middle, and now that's gonna collapse. And even though his opponent is still behind by 14 villas, that is 70 Voyagers on food, so now Hussar raids will start happening. By the way, CL has 3 Voyagers on wood, so... and you see that K4sva is not buying mass food, so... That's already very bad. If you are buying food at this stage of the game, that's already an awful situation. And now you have Hussars inside your eco. And I think K4sva is going to drop in a villager count pretty soon over here. 89 army against 38. And I think the quality of the army is much better as well from CL. So the Hussar, the elite skirms fully upgraded, the hand cannons, the traps. Whereas against it, K4sva has champions mainly, but champions will still melt to hand cannons. And there is enough beef in front of them to just... tank up the damage, and then let this hand cannoners do the rest. And in the meanwhile, as I said, there's also a lot of light cavs for CL that are just gonna keep raiding and raiding. If they find this position here, that's gonna be minus 20 villas for K4sva. And the traps are now knocking on the monastery. That's actually a smart move from CL as well. He's securing the position with guards, or guard towers, soon to be keeps, takes down the monastery, and that means that K4sva is without relics now. And as I said, K4sva is dropping in population really fast over here. 147, now 152 against 169 and increasing. Champions will make one big push over here, but guard towers, hand cannoneers may be enough to edge this round. I feel like this is the final engagement for K4sva. If he doesn't win this one, this is over for him. A lot of Voyagers just run into this light cab over there. K4sva is taking an okay engagement here, but unless he's able to fix his food eco, he's not gonna be able to sustain this production, whereas CL is still able to spam units over here. That being said, K4sva is taking a pretty decent engagement over here. The hand cannoneers still have the hill, and the fact that the Hussars are being chased down by the infantry means that the hand cannoneers are able to just keep firing and firing instead of just being overrun by swordsmen. On the north, we do have light cav raids now though from CL, and K4sva drops down to 87 Voyagers. He has cleaned this one up, but now the other problem is going to be he's having guard towers in his eco, he's having raids in his eco. Tries some quick walls once again, and like the persistence of K4sva is crazy. So he really is not willing to give up early games, or not early games, but he's really trying to play very deep into Imperial and try to crawl his way back into the game in style that's actually very reminiscent of Hera and MBL, which is not a coincidence. K4sva plays a lot, and oftentimes in time frames against MBL, and usually MBL wins. But the fact that you play hundreds of games against a player like MBL, or even Hera is also pretty commonly climbing back into games like that. I think it's a bigger thing that, Hera is pushed into situations less when he needs to climb back into the game, whereas MBL, I think he's more of the player that can fall behind in like mid to late game, but then he's able to crawl back in that one. So regardless of that, both players are pretty well known for their ability to climb back into games that were seemingly lost, and the fact that K4sva plays a lot against them means that he pretty much learns a lot from those games as well. But anyways, CL edges out victory in this first game over here. What a start for this series. I am actually impressed. This was a crazy good game that could have gone to either side. I feel like the +7 for the Lithuanians actually helped immensely over here for CL. That being said, CL suicided an awful lot of paladins into the pikemen, so at the end of the day, he won this one, but I feel like it wasn't actually based on the paladins. It was based on the fact that I think k4sva's food eco collapsed. That was the key here. It wasn't one on the paladin fights. In fact, if k4sva had a good food eco, I feel like k4sva wins this one. But that didn't happen. And this means that we are gonna have game number 1 in the hands of CL over here. And now we are going to play the first home map of k4sva over here. So let's take a look at the civilizations. So Vikings is lost for k4sva, which was his first pick, whereas Lithuanians was the final pick for CL over here. So that's an interesting one that he went for that at the beginning. And the next map that we're going to play is Bay. So what that means is that I'm just double checking just to make sure, because they didn't actually arrange this in the appropriate order, so I have to double check if I'm loading up the right game. But anyways, that means that Bay and Cross are k4sva's home maps, because it is pick for one player and then pick for the other, ban for the other. So I think it's Bay and Cross for k4sva and Slopes and Gold Rush for CL. But we are going to play Bay over here, so let's launch up the map that is nicknamed Pants, and we will be going right away. So welcome to Bay over here. We're going to have CL playing as Mongols in blue, the traditional civilization for Bay. Other side, Italians for k4sva in red. This is actually a very, very interesting matchup for a lot of reasons. So once again, we will actually speed through Dark Age over here so that we conserve some time overall. But what I wanted to refer to is that Mongols were basically the exclusive civilization pick for Hidden Cup Free Bay because of the hunt. These patches of deer were bigger. I think these two patches were pretty much combined at the same spot and everybody was just hunting with Mongols. Now Mongols are no longer OP over here. They're still very reasonable because the hunt bonus gives them a chance to go for a fast feudal, which helps in the fire galley fights. And also, this map isn't necessarily aggressive on land in like mid to late Castle Age, so oftentimes it goes into post-Imperial, and there is the place where Mongols shine at. However, there is one thing to consider. Mengdai are units that just absolutely die to Genoese crossbows because they're mounted archers. So a Genoese crossbow bombard cannon play could be extremely devastating from the Italian player, and the thing is that that has to happen through this short distance in between the players, and if that is a thing, as we have 4 villagers coming in here, so I'll have to slow down the game, I think it's not really worth discussing things about post-Imperial scenarios now that we are seeing towers here. k4sva is walling himself up. I wonder if he has actually seen this. It also seems like CL is moving out to grab the Huntables for himself. And here come the towers. Now, as I said, these Chinese players left the tower, and the only problem that... oh, I see what CL thinks now, and it's not a bad idea. It's actually not a bad idea. Because the thing is that he's not going on water, so he's not gonna be able to push the opponent's fishing eco. However, if you place a tower over here, you can pretty much harass it. Appropriate response from k4sva would be to sneak a villager out and get a dock up here, because that would still make him able to do fishing. There is going to be a stable, so it's towers and scouts over here, but k4sva can defend against that with spearmen and potentially skirmishers, even drops an archer range over here. Nice defense over there for him. It's worth noting that his stone is on the front, so counter-towering isn't really going to be something that he's going to be able to do. And also worth noting that he doesn't really have a lot of safe wood lines, so ideally you would just war here, but he didn't have the time for that. So there is a chance that indeed CL is just going to drop a tower here, or even better here, and deny that wood line. So far k4sva is not reacting to that. No spearmen coming out either. And it's gonna be a galley, interestingly. So k4sva thinks his opponent might have something on water, but it is apparently not the case over here. CL actually gets a mill up here, but he forgot the fact that villagers don't automatically move to ibexes or deer if you actually place a mill right next to them, so you manually have to click them. Anyways, it looks like K4sva is actually playing archers here, but against the scouts play, you really should consider at least 1 or 2 spearmen, because if somehow those scouts get in, you are going to be in quite a significant trouble. Interesting is the fact that K4sva is not really willing to go for a counter tower. I wonder how long that is going to last. Eventually, he's going to have to go for a counter tower. So, the other thing that I'm noticing, as I said, is that those fishing trips are slowly getting damaged. That's why the tower up there is so good. So, we'll see if K4sva tries to sneak out of Voyager, which seems somewhat impossible right now. There's a galley, but that's not really influencing that much. That being said, the eco for CL is very weak. You see that his TC idle time is rising. He's got a range over here to potentially defend those Voyagers, but that range is going to be so bad, because by the time the archers move up here, it's going to take forever. And now K4sva tries to trap those Voyagers in there, and he does. He actually does trap those Voyagers in. He can delete that Palisade and bash down that tower as well. K4sva can actually trap these Voyagers in here, and remember that he already has 4 fishing ships working for him, which is now only 2. Really sloppy that he's losing those. Even if they're idle, it's better to keep them alive rather than losing them. So it seems like these guys will survive though, because the scouts bashed their way through the walls. So tower versus tower, but as I said, K4sva could just delete one of the Palisades over there and just bash it down from the other side. And the archers will be moving towards the base of CL. CL seems to be prepared for this one, but there's only one archer, and as I said, CL's food eco is absolutely awful right now. So his eco is very bad right now, and if you compare it to K4sva, even though he's losing the fishing ships, he got a nice little extra boost from the food over there, and it looks like the archers will force away CL's Voyagers from the hunt, which once again means that CL's food eco will collapse, and eventually the eco advantage for K4sva is going to show. So it's getting better and better. It looks like we're going to have another tower over here. Remember, K4sva can't afford another counter tower because he's not on stone. So CL could actually get a tower up over here, which could be very troublesome for K4sva. But K4sva could potentially pull his Voyagers and take that tower down if he wants to. Or try to push his archers up and pick off those Voyagers. That could also work. That could also work very well. And he takes down one Voyager. Voyagers are also being pulled to take down these Palisade walls over here, as CL is really trying to get those up. And the tower is at 87%. The Voyagers will break in here. Even if this tower goes up, it's going to go down instantly, I believe. And in the meanwhile, these archers are just waiting for the opportunity. CL is looking for them with scouts and skirms, but once that heat is gone, he's going to be able to start pushing up the base of CL, and the tower goes down. Archers will decide not to chase the Voyagers, which may have been just a temporary miss-micro from K4sva. And even though K4sva had quite a lot of idle time himself, at the end of the day, his eco is going to be a little more efficient, and even more importantly, he's going to be able to hit the eco of his opponent directly over here with archers. As I said, if K4sva had another dock over here and do the fishing, it would be even better, but that seems like that's not going to be a case. And I like that he's adding this additional wall over here, because what this gives him is that this wood line is going to be secure, because there's going to be no towers snuck past it. Now, if you take a look at K4sva's scouting, he doesn't really have an awful lot, but he probably has a good idea that the gold mine and stone mine could be somewhere around over here. He's looping around all the way to the back, and he will find the gold mine, but there is nothing there, as he's just getting fletching over here. And it seems like CL is returning home. If K4sva sees this, he could pull the galley and try to take this one down over here. And now the real question is, what is K4sva going to do with his dock? Because he won't really be able to do much in terms of fishing until this tower is up, but he can take this tower down until this tower is down. And it looks like now K4sva is going to reveal his archers a little bit prematurely, but that is going to force CL to fall back over here, and K4sva is going to spot these Voyagers in exchange and take down these two. So yeah, CL actually tried pulling all those Voyagers back against the archers. It's actually surprising that K4sva is not focusing down that Voyager. That could have been one easy Voyager kill. Voyager count is 38 to 31 right now. And you could also make a case for a demo potentially here for K4sva. Let's see if he's going to do that or just go for galley. A galley here also does a lot of damage, so 7 damage per arrow is actually pretty helpful when it comes to fighting against unupgraded scouts over here. The scouts are still alive though, but eventually they will go down. Skirmishers still out, and now K4sva is slowly thinking about going up to the next stage though. Another range on the way, so we'll have a lot of land fighting, and surprisingly enough, because of this tower, neither of the players will actually have a fishing eco working for them over there. I like this move quite a bit from K4sva. Detaching the spearmen, and charging them into the skirmishers to kind of distract them and let the archers escape. That's actually a pretty nice move from k4sva overall. It seems like Stia has villagers all over the place taking the hunt, which is, I guess, meant to compensate his eco for being a lot more inefficient. But we'll see if that actually is going to be a case here, because I'm by far not convinced that like this much walking is actually worth it, or dropping meals everywhere. So anyways, we are gonna have CL getting close to the Cap to Castle Age over here, still a little long gold, and with the cheaper Castle Age for Italians, I would think that k4sva is gonna be able to beat him to the next stage. Also worth noting that there's an 8 villagers lead. k4sva, however, doesn't have a single eco upgrade, whereas CL is at least having double bid-axe right now. So I would think that the ecos are probably sort of close, but k4sva might have a small advantage over here. And we'll have quite a lot of crossbows coming out from him, though. We'll see if we are gonna have a stable from CL or not. CL is still not up, especially the gold count is very low. And k4sva is going to realize, hey, my opponent is actually on water. Now, this is actually a questionable decision from CL. Because the thing is that he's making Fire Galley, but what is he going to achieve with controlling water? Like, he could start fish booming in theory, but does that mean anything in short term? Probably not. And in the meanwhile, he's going to fall behind in land combat, so I think the time for water engagement is sort of gone. Anyways, k4sva has quite a lot of crossbows. CL will also spot the stable, so it's going to be probably knight and crossbow over here. Scout will try intercepting the villager, but that scout is too low for that, right? Yep, that scout is not going to be enough. So Archer's already moving up. And CL is going to have a 1.5 minute deficit at the end of the day, which is huge, to be honest. And yeah, CL is going to win water, congratulations. But how are you going to stop a big batch of crossbows heading your way? CL will be dropping defensive towers everywhere, but a forward siege workshop could actually get past that pretty easily. Or since his base is completely open, knights could also be something. He's still trying to get as much hunt as he can for himself, which I think I sort of like, because k4sva is not really punishing him for that. And you're Mongol, so you might as well actually take the hunts. Now, if k4sva had just one knight on those hunts, then CL would be dead, basically. Castle Age is in, CL reacts to those archers, and k4sva is going to have to run back over here. Or not, he's just going to dive beneath the towers. Yeah, it seems like he will just commit, which honestly makes some sense here, because the benefit that you're getting from this is enormous. Being able to look at all the idle time. And remember that CL also doesn't have a reliable food income, so being able to push the farming eco could be huge. I think k4sva is expecting more farmers to be here, which might actually ring an alarm bell for him, saying that, hey, you know, there is not a lot of farmers here. This guy has no fishing eco. Where is he getting food from? And the answer is the hunt. There is going to be knights coming over as well, and there is already the forward siege workshop. I like the way that k4sva is actually pressing this. So he realizes that, okay, I got the early advantage here, so I can actually start pushing up with siege workshops. And the thing is that CL is gonna be in Castle Age, but what is he going to do with that exactly? Like, he can make knights over here, he can make archers over here, but he doesn't really have an army. He's got 2 military, one of them is a fire galley. And yeah, he can actually make monks and mangonels or so, but that's not going to work out really well, and eventually he's going to run out of hunt, which means that his food eco is going to be worse and worse over time. That's also a very, very nice find for k4sva. 11 villagers killed by him, and only 4 by CL. Another one bites dust. CL is on 34 eco. So, really, the fact that he has 2 army compared to 21 and 13 villagers deficit, especially now that knights are coming in as well, knights will just start taking down those towers. You can just pick off that spearman, and the knight will take down the tower. You can camp beneath the tower as well with the crossbows, and that means that those villagers will not escape. So, I also love the fact that k4sva is able to deny that siege workshop. That is enormous. Because CL wanted to make that castle or that siege workshop at a safe place, but that wasn't really possible for him because the crossbows looped all the way around. Another tower is coming up over here for the sake of just protecting each other over here, sort of. And k4sva is just getting his first battering ram out. Surprising that it's a battering ram. I would think that... Oh, that was a beautiful conversion. Pretty lucky, to be honest. So, getting a conversion in on that knight. And yeah, I'm not a fan of the battering ram here because many of those towers are walled in, so you could really make a case for mangonels instead. The siege workshop is also up, but we also have to consider that now K4sva has 11 Voyagers lead, and CL is dropping a TC over here. CL is actually playing 2 TCs, K4sva is still on 1 TC, and now he's actually getting a fire galley out, which is meant to destroy the tower, which is not really happening right now. And Monk's defense seems to work out well for CL over here. So that so far is actually pretty reasonable. In the meanwhile, this dock is slowly going down. K4sva, he is buying stone here. Stone, what for? Once again, his food eco is very, very messy over here, so I would think that K4sva just wants to drop TCs over here on the outside because he's running out of wood within his own base. So that's probably going to be a TC somewhere around over here or so. But, yeah, what I don't like is that, like, he could be pushing a little bit more over here. So if he had mangonels, mangonels would kill the monks that do not have sanctity. And, like, crossbow mangonel push here would work out perfectly fine. And now knights are coming in. Rams also will have to withdraw. CL could just take down those rams with the knight. That would already be a huge move. And truth being told, CL is having a lot of hunt over here for himself, which compensates, or at least partially compensates, for the 8 Voyager deficit he has, especially considering that K4sva's food eco is an absolute junk once again. So he's definitely having food eco issues over here. 2 TCs for him, as well as the crossbow is gonna get converted soon over here if K4sva doesn't react. The real question is, what does K4sva want? Like, what does K4sva want from this game? That's what I'm not seeing. I don't see the purpose of the ram push. It would just be much better getting 4 mangonels out, 4 mangonels and 15-20 crossbows, and CL would be dead by now, because 4 mangonels melt these towers like nothing. They would just take down the monks as well. I don't think there is redemption on the side of CL. So currently, this is nowhere close to being stoppable by CL if you just play the mangonel crossbow. He's not doing that. Now, this is the thing. K4sva starts spotting these mills, and that should ring a bell. Hey, maybe my opponent is actually taking the hunt. If he's taking the hunt here, he might be taking the hunt over here, and now he even sees that castle over there, so K4sva is getting castle dropped, which is worsening this scenario moment by moment for him. He was leading in this game, but the more we get into this game, the worse it actually starts getting for him. The TC fire is going to be able to help scare away those knights, but the crossbows will just camp the bottom of this castle, and that is a castle denied over here, ladies and gentlemen. CL will make a siege workshop to try and mango that one down. Let's see if the crossbows will intercept the Voyagers in that. And it looks like we're going to have siege workshop as well here for K4sva. And with an attempt to go for now, battering rams would make sense. So here, battering rams are fine. Here, battering rams weren't fine. And honestly, I feel like K4sva is kind of throwing away the lead that he has had. At one point, he had like a 8-9 Voyagers lead and a massive lead into Castle Age. Could have been mangonels crossbows. Now, it's only a 4 Voyagers lead for him. It's still triple the army, but it's not as good as it used to be. There should be very, very little chance for CL to get this castle up, let's be honest. He will try diving beneath it now that the mangonel is out, and the mangonel should be able to deal with the ram as well. But that tower is full of Voyagers and crossbows. Knights will dive into the mangonel, and that seems to start becoming a doubt castle over there, because a lot of Voyagers lost their life trying to get it up, and it's still not up. And K4sva has a couple of crossbows over here chilling. They might actually find Voyager picks in the very, very distant future once Voyagers actually try getting pieces up around there, but that's not really going to be anytime soon. Also worth noting that K4sva at least has horse collar on his farms, whereas his opponent does not, even though CL himself doesn't have a lot of farming eco. What I like, however, is that after securing the water, he actually starts adding fishing, which makes sense. Helps you grow your eco really well. And CL soon will have to delete that castle because it's losing HP really rapidly, so I guess he'll attempt one more move to get that castle up. But even if that castle goes up now, as you have to dive in on that mangonel. You have to dive in. And it looks like he's trying to dive in on the Voyagers. And the castle is up. But you could camp the bottom of it, and there is 3 rams indeed. That castle is up and immediately down. So it was a little too late now for CL. And now you could actually start making a case for a ram push on that TC. ideal would be mangonels, but you can actually start pushing this one with rams. There's a couple of converted knights over here. STL is having a lot of stone being bought here. And remember that if CL cancelled that castle, he would probably lost most of the resources that he has invested into that one, but the same thing is true for losing that castle immediately. That was a very, very expensive castle that was lost over there. This is a very, very Huang-esque play, by the way. Over here with the Rams beneath the TC. As the Mango is still alive. Nice micro from k4sva picking off the monks over here, but the Mangonel being alive. I think that k4sva needs his own Mangonel here, which is something that he's not doing. He's once again pulling ahead by 12 villagers, but this is not as convincing as I thought it could be from k4sva after seeing him just pretty much smashing his opponent in Feudal Age. He has killed 26 villagers and only lost 5, yet it's not a dominant game right now for him. He's finally sending villagers to stone, and if he can get his own castle up, things will start changing, to be honest, and it looks like there's a lot of villagers coming in here to drop a castle in the middle of the map to secure some map control soon for Mangodai, but Genoese crossbow should be able to melt Mangodai. k4sva not reacting to those knights in time, now it focuses them down. They do have 0 upgrades, so they die really easily to the crossbows over here, and Mangonel may also get picked off. You can actually dive in for this, I think, although it could have been better if you focused on the monk, but as lucky as CL was with one of the previous conversions, that was a pretty unlucky one over here for him. k4sva will, however, run directly into a castle that is just finished over here, so he wasn't able to deny this one. Well, he was able to deny this one, but he wasn't able to deny this. However, k4sva is on the way to Imperial, and he's now making a big ramp push over here on this TC as well. And since knights with +2 defense are beneath that TC, this is not defendable for CL. CL would lose 6 villagers if this TC goes down. Even more importantly, he would have this TC exposed over here as well. And it looks like we're gonna have an Arblast Bombard Cannon play over here, which can work out really nicely as the villagers will try to escape this way to kind of conceal the presence of this TC over here for CL. And Botkin is just coming in right now for CL. He has a decent fishing eco here, but he's still behind by 9 eco overall. But I think the main concern that he's having right now is that 36 army to 6, and that his opponent is also on the way to Imperial. So the eco that was better for k4sva for the majority of the game is starting to show, I believe, and it looks like this TC is going to be uncovered as well. And remember, these crossbows are still in here, so if k4sva finds these villagers, he once again could kill a lot, and we'll have bloodlines, so soon Mangodai will be coming in, but early Mangodai without the upgrades are actually pretty bad. So, well, not bad, but they're not amazing by any means, and crossbows should be able to deal with them, potentially even orbs. Now, if these Mangodai get into k4sva's eco, that's gonna be very, very annoying, because they will just hit and run, and let's see if k4sva is gonna notice this. k4sva, he does it. He does notice this. There is still going to be a couple of villagers killed over here, but the crisis was averted, because one of the things that Mangodai give you is mobility over the crossbows. The other problem that CL is going to be facing, aside from his opponent being into Imperial already, is that the Bombard Cannons... Oh, that actually is an ambitious castle over here from k4sva with no defensive army over here. And yeah, he might need to bail on that castle for now, at least. So, k4sva, he's losing quite a lot of villagers over here. These crossbows are still chilling over here as well. Tries to get TC up over here. So the thing is that you will need the castle to produce Mangodai over here, but as I said, CL is nowhere close to Imperial. So k4sva can just go for Arblast, Bracer. Bombard Cannon would be important as well. This is why he's prioritizing Chemistry over the other upgrades, because he doesn't have a castle yet, but he has Seat Workshop, so Bombard Cannon makes more sense than Trebs initially. And as I said, one of the things that is important with Mangodai is that in order to make Mangodai, you kind of have to have castles. Now, CL is doing the right thing, using the mobility advantage to stretch out the opponent's defense over here is actually very nice, but now that the castle is up, these crossbows can just fall back over here, and I think CL will try to just get through that gate over there, if I'm not mistaken, or just keep running around. The DC here, the tower there, should be able to help, and as I said, k4sva needs to make Treb immediately, and so he does. CL tries to get through the walls, nice market wall over there from k4sva, as the Arbalest are slowly catching up. k4sva will try to trap this army in here, and that will be a big loss for CL, who is probably going to lose that castle no matter what. I don't think that he can actually keep that up. Mangodai once again picking off a lot of villagers from k4sva. k4sva still killed more villas than his opponent did, but that villager KD is actually getting closer and closer. Anyways, crossbows clean up the Mangodai over here without any major problems, even though I think those crossbows might be lacking Thumbring. It also seems like the crossbows from the left side were cleaned up wherever they are, or no, they haven't been cleaned up. I think they might have killed a couple of villagers over here because there was a lot over there. K4sva getting the second trap out as well. And now he needs to pull up his crossbows. There is stumbling on the way for him. And I wouldn't be surprised to see bombard cannons coming in from K4sva as well pretty soon. No bombard cannons just yet. I think bombard cannons could make a lot of sense here for you. Just for the sake of taking those castles down faster. You don't necessarily need it because your opponent isn't having traps. But you could still justify it for like kind of a more mobile form of siege. And obviously it's going to be awfully hard for CL to keep these castles alive. And the more bigger problem for CL is that even though his eco is unbalanced and technically he could work towards getting to Imperial, it still seems pretty tough for him to get up to. Surprising is the fact that K4sva still hasn't gotten the Arbalest upgrade as he's securing another castle over here. Still 10 villagers lead, although as I said he's losing more and more villagers over time. A Mangonel comes in. That actually is quite bad for K4sva that he doesn't have the Arbalest here because the Mangonels die to the Arbalest, but they're actually pretty decent against crossbows. CL will have a forward position here on this ridge, but that's basically all he has, and more importantly, he has 8 army, 4 of them are Mangodai, one of them is actually Fire Guy, so that's not going to help, one of them is an Archer, one of them is a Scorpion. None of these actually helps against what's gonna be Arbalest, soon Bombard Cannon. You can actually start making a case for Genoese crossbows here. If you're K4sva, what you have to keep in mind is that you need a lot of siege, just to make sure that you slowly carve through the opponent's base. So it's not like, okay, we're slowly taking a castle, you need to melt castles here, because eventually CL is going to find an answer to that, and you don't really want your opponent, CL, getting up to Imperial and potentially getting to Onagers. That being said, one of the main reasons why K4sva is leading in this game, or at least while he is right now in a position to win this one, is because his Imperial Age time was much better than his opponent's in time, and there is going to be a couple of Mangodai counterattacking, and they will kill 10-15 villas even, potentially. But how are you going to stop that army if you are CL? This is the problem, that he can actually do some raiding, but raiding won't compensate for just an enormous defeat in the front of your base, and you also have to keep in mind that once again this is the only castle that CL can use to make Mangodai, so as good as it sounds like that he's killing a lot of villagers over here, and as bad as it is from K4sva that he's not noticing this at all, this isn't going to change much, because right now there is absolutely no tools in the hands of CL to stop this push. He's trying to get into Elite Skirm, but Italians have a pretty easy tech switch into Condottieri to clean it up. It's not really a perfect unit for cleaning up Skirm, but it actually is pretty reasonable. So if it's full Skirm from CL, I feel like Condottieri is going to come in without any problems. Now, I have to say that K4sva is throwing away a lot of villagers. Look at that, at some point that villager KD was 45 to something like 16. Now, actually, K4sva is 52-48. He's losing his villagers over here. K4sva has dropped them to 88 villagers, so I feel like K4sva is winning this because he's got this one big push, but if somehow this push dies, which seems somewhat unlikely, suddenly K4sva is gonna fall behind really badly because he has lost so many villagers. At the end of the day, after all those villagers that were killed by CL or by K4sva, the villager KD is absolutely even between the two. Now, as I said, CL is just up to Imperials, he's got no Bracer, no Chemistry, no +4 defense on the Skirms, and that means that the Arbalests are actually able to take a reasonable engagement. K4sva is actually selling stone over here, but yeah, as I said, if you're K4sva, you just pull in the traps and finish this one off. CL knows this, and he taps out. K4sva evens out the series over here, so really we have a rather close series over here. One of the things that I'm noticing is that K4sva is somewhat unprepared for the unconventional playstyle of CL, because we're seeing a lot of things from CL that are pretty uncommon overall in competitive Age of Empires, and K4sva's playtime is mostly the time where Chinese players play less. So K4sva plays around afternoon/evening/night Europe time, which means that Chinese players by then are usually sleeping. So K4sva mainly plays against European opponents, or potentially South American and North American opponents, which means that he's got less experience playing against Chinese players who often have quite unconventional playstyles. That being said, he has handled this one pretty well, and that means that we will be taking a look at game number 3 over here with an even score. So let's take a look at the draft. We have Mongols gone for CL and Italians for K4sva. And as I said, since Bay and Cross were K4sva's home maps, Gold Rush and Slopes are CL's home maps. I would assume that Magyars are for slopes, Aztecs, or Malians could be for Gold Rush. Malians actually pretty much makes sense. And Cross is probably going to be Japanese. So you probably do Japanese on Cross if you're CL. Magyars for slopes and Aztecs or Malians for Gold Rush. Other side, Huns will be the most likely scenario for Cross, even though Persians could also occur. Slopes, I think it's going to be Berbers for the cheaper knights. Could be Tatars as well, honestly. And I think Gold Rush will be Tatars though, because of the hills. So something like Tatars Gold Rush, Persians or Huns for Cross, and then Berbers for slopes is what I'm thinking over here for K4sva. And next game is going to be slopes, and I was sort of right, but not completely. What we are going to have over here is a Magyars versus Tatars matchup. So why would you pick Tatars over here? There is many reasons. One of the things I like about Tatars on this map, other than the fact that you have the heal bonus and that can be very helpful, is that you have longer lasting herdables, which means that if something happens to your food eco, you are still alright. So I think, since this is a traditional scouts map, I would think that the longer lasting herdable is actually a nice little bonus. Plus, this map is open enough for Cav Archers to be viable. This applies to both players. And that means that you could actually sort of transition either scouts into like archer slash crossbow and then Cav Archer transition, or just play scouts and then whenever, like it depends on how the game shapes out. So if you don't need to transition to archers early on, then you may just do it later on with Tatar CA. But Tatar and Magyar CAs, some of the best in the game. Magyars with the recurve bow and the Tatars with the silk armor. I think the two actually compensates for each other more or less, so this should be two relatively even Cav Archer fights. We'll see if that's going to be the case for either player. CL moves up pretty fast over here to see what his opponent is up to, and even tries to get a block in on the board, but that is going to be a failure from him. So the way things stand, CL isn't really moving out. 3 on wood for him, so is the wood count for K4sva, which means as... Oh, CL actually lamed one of the piggies over here, and he is going to try laming the other piggy as well. Loom on the way for CL, so he's actually trying to go for a 19 pop-up. Was a little bit too tight, he had to idle his DC for a moment. In fact, he had to idle his DC for 20 seconds, as I need to slow the game now, slow down the game now so that we are able to catch up. Well, not catch up, but we're not actually falling or skipping anything that's important. So yeah, once again, apologies for, you know, speeding through Dark Ages. That is purely because I need to finish round of 64 casting all of the 32 series, which is a lot of series if you think about that. Even if just one of them, or like even if all of them are 1 hour long, which is not true because we have been in 1 hour 18 minutes for this series only. But even if each series is 1 hour long, then it is 32 hours, and that's a lot of time. And as I said, I have a kind of tight window over here, because I need to finish by the time that games are played, or from the round of 32s. Anyways, nice move over there from Sia using that Magyar scout to pick off the Voyager, and the Magyar attack bonus is insanely strong in the early field age over here. So the thing is that you actually do 5 damage per hit to a Voyager rather than 4 damage per hit. Actually means that you only need 8 hits compared to 10 hits. So you actually lower the amount of hits needed to kill a Voyager by 2. So that's actually pretty significant overall. Anyways, stable is up over here for K4sva. Tries to quick quad at Voyager, but that stable is going to be delayed. Oh, that's so bad for K4sva. That's so bad. And obviously it's gonna go up eventually, but this delays him so much. And against Magyars that have cheap scouts, strong scouts, and they even have the extra attack in the Spearman, this could be pretty devastating. So the scout being inside the base of CL over here, or K4sva over here, actually hurts really badly for K4sva. Now it seems like both players are just playing standard scouts over here. They are players that are not willing to move out for the pawns right now. Some players like to do that, some players don't. I think that there is a massive risk involved with moving out for those pawns. And CL will just poke and probe, try to come back, hit that Voyager, come back, hit that Voyager. as K4sva will dispatch his own scout right now. He's got the HP advantage, but as I said, he's up against the Magyar scout. So he is going to have to take the hill advantage over here, especially with Tatars. But with Tatars, he's able to take the hill, and that is a beautiful fight for K4sva that he still loses. At the end of the day, that's a trade of Voyagers. But one thing that I would like to notice is that K4sva has a lot of T-side time over here right now. Seal already had 25 seconds, so he's one Voyager down because of that. So the thing is that Magyars, as good as they are with the scouts opening, their eco isn't amazing. Sort of the same is true for Tatars, even though the longer lasting Herdables is actually very helpful here, because I assume that most of these farms from K4sva are with horse color, whereas if you take a look at the opponent's food eco, these farms are all without horse color. That's going to be an awful situation when you reach Castle Age, because that's about time where you are going to have to reseed them, and you will probably have to invest into farms instead of additional town centers. So I feel like here K4sva is in a better spot overall, because he has lost one Voyager, that's totally true, but at the end of the day he is behind by just that one Voyager, and his eco is going to be slightly stronger, especially because, as I said, he was able to get farms with horse color versus opponent does not. It seems like both players will be playing very, very passive, and we might just see a Knights clash in Castle Age over here, because, as I said, the archer switch depends on what the opponent is doing. You can say, okay, I want to push in feudal age, and I'm just going to add archers to accompany my scouts, or you can just say, okay, if we are playing Vols, then I'm just going to boom up myself. Now, resource-wise, it looks a little bit better for CL. He's got 17 on food already, 18 for K4sva, but many of those are berry villagers. So I feel like K4sva is a little bit low on farms. Right now he's sitting on 12, whereas his opponent is on 14, which is definitely better. By the way, CL, do you know that there's a hole on your wall? If K4sva was actually pushing, I think technically he sees it. He might be too busy microing his scouts to notice this, but if K4sva had 3 scouts over here, that would be a couple of villagers lost potentially. So yeah, this is a huge mistake over here from CL. Now, technically K4sva has some scouts over here. It's only 2, so I don't think they will do a lot of damage. And now CL notices this. We'll just vote off here. Ideal would be to vote off here, but I guess he might have seen the scouts heading his way. Anyways, as I said, CL is going to have a much better cast stage time over here. Most likely because the 2 players invested into basically the same amount of scouts. So there were 2 or 3 scouts from both sides. But the Magyar scouts are much cheaper, which obviously helps quite heavily for CL overall. And right now we only had 3 kills in this game. So despite the fact that this map is usually pretty open and quite aggressive in feudal age, this was one of the more passive games being played over here. And on the way to cast stage is going to be CL, who may be playing... Oh, he's missing blacksmith. He's missing the blacksmith over here. So the thing is that there is going to be a second stable indeed. K4sva sees this. K4sva knows that his opponent is up. Because if you are pushed by scouts and you see a second stable, it could be kind of a feudal full scouts play. But since CL wasn't pushing the base of K4sva, and there's a second stable, that's a clear indication that CL is actually going up to Castle Age here. And that's going to be tricky to fight against because Magyar Knights will have the +2 attack by default. And we will see if we see K4sva transition into Cav Archers here, which could be something to consider. The thing is that Cav Archers, especially initially, you have to keep them alive, and that's pretty challenging. But once you have good numbers, they will just melt the Knights over there. So we'll see if that's the case for K4sva. There is a second range coming in, and he's not making Archers. Indeed, this is a direct Cav Archer switch from K4sva over here. And I think I sort of like that because what you could get out of this is probably 5-6 archers that you could turn into crossbows, but those would get killed by the knights immediately. You know that your opponent is going for knights. You could even make a case for making a couple of camels if you are K4sva. So Tatar camels aren't amazing, but they're actually a tool to deal with Magyar knights at the beginning. So triple range CA indeed is the name of the game over here, whereas for CL is just going to play brute force knights, it seems like. CL is going to have a 1-minute advantage into Castle Age, and it seems like he's going to drag away the scout with his own, and that allows CL to sneak up Voyager over here. I wonder what this Voyager is up for. Maybe a siege workshop over here, and that would be very defendable with the hill. That would be something. So let's see what he is up to. But I really like the move of pulling the scouts away so that he's able to save that Voyager. As I said, now those scouts do have bloodlines and +2 attack. So at the end of the day, they will still lose, but there is the Knights on the way, as expected, and it's a monastery, interestingly. So I guess he's expecting camos, and he would be right. 4 ranges, ladies and gentlemen. Now that's a number. That's a number over there. The question is here, in this case, for K4sva, if he can actually afford 4 ranges, because 4 ranges, even with Huns, is a little bit ambitious. Like, oftentimes you see triple range cav archers from Huns that have cheaper cav archers, but 4 ranges. It is absolutely useless to have 4 ranges of cav archer production if you can't keep all of them working. It's better to have 3 that works consistently rather than 4 that does not. That being said, nice revos up there from K4sva. He would need a tile of stone wall behind that far side wall, because that's the weak part. And it seems like he's not actually getting any camos out. For now, he just wants to go for 4 cav archers. Surprisingly, his cav archer production over here is pretty consistent. And remember that one of the most important upgrades for cav archers, Thumb Ring, is already there for him. He also has bloodlines. Husbandry would be extremely important for him, though, for the mobility of those cav archers. And I'm legit surprised. I'm very, very surprised how consistent the cav archer production is for K4sva. I thought he's not going to be able to afford it, but apparently he's able to. Husbandry is in for a CL though, so if there is no husbandry for K4sva, his cav archers will be a little too slow compared to those knights. And now, what's gonna happen is that these monks will just prevent the repairs from K4sva. By the way, this is K4sva's primary gold, which is far from ideal. Now he's gonna try picking off a couple of those knights. They have full upgrades, so +2/+2. Tries to pick off the monks. Not going to happen. And the thing is that if that stable goes down, you're not gonna get husbandry over here. So I'm starting to hate the position of K4sva more and more, to be honest, because yeah, you're gonna have the cav archers, but you kind of have to do hit and run with that. There is still an opening here. There is an even more concerning opening here, because you can use the cav archers on this choke point. And luckily for K4sva, CL is just dealing with the barracks over here right now. But all of those knights are full HP, 11 knights with +2/+2 versus quite a lot of cav archers, but they're missing ballistics, they are missing husbandry. Monks are getting picked off. That's actually very, very nice over there though. From K4sva, we'll try to dive in on the final monk. Unsuccessful sort of, but now he's taking a very, very good narrow choke point engagement over here. That's actually an insanely good fight for K4sva. Now he dives out though, sees that there is more and more knights on the way, and once again gets a good choke point fight over here. So he's really taking some great engagements over here as he's getting Boso as well. Voyager count also in the favor of K4sva. Sia had an awful lot of T-side idle time. 336 compared to 50 seconds is actually pretty considerable as a difference. And as I said, I'm very, very impressed on how consistent the cav archer production is for K4sva. And he's now in a very good spot. As I said, if he had husbandry and ballistics, I would say that he's borderline dominating this game. The problem that K4sva is going to be facing is wood control, so that could be concerning in the near future, because he doesn't really have a lot of wood, and one of the reasons why he doesn't have ballistics, I assume, is because he's just unable to afford a university. Now, he could take a hill here. Did I mention that he doesn't have husbandry? That could lose him a game here, though, because those knights are faster than the cav archers. And if they're faster, they will just chase them down. The idea with the cav archers is that the knights can't hit you. So you really need that husbandry. The cav archers pop out once again, and they will try to snap down the Mangonel. Mangonel will try to get a ground attack in. Gets actually a pretty good connection. With our heal bonus showing off over there, as we have the cav archers finishing off that Mangonel. That's a lot of CA. And remember that Sia has a lot of T-side time as well. So K4sva's eco is getting better and better over here. Even though K4sva doesn't have... Actually, what happened here? What happened here for K4sva? Was he housed or what? I don't understand this. K4sva is now having an even Voyager count compared to his opponent, when he had 5 minutes less TC idle time. And K4sva doesn't even have wheelbarrow, whereas his opponent does. Something is not actually clicking over here, and probably the reason why is because now we have 2 TCs for CL, and K4sva is only playing 1. And also it seems like there is a knight breaking through here on the left, or at least he somehow snuck through the defenses. K4sva is now floating a lot of wood, so if this is the time for ballistics, then indeed it should happen, and that is the case. And I think for k4sva it really hurts that he doesn't have husbandry right now. If he had husbandry, I would say he's in a good position. Also, a lot of those cav archers are very, very low HP, so that is something worth monitoring. Like, the average health of these cav archers is 50%, if you look at this. k4sva getting a nice DC out on the wood line, though. He was able to sneak out a little bit. Cav archers trying to avoid the mangonel shots, pick off, or at least attempt to pick off the knight. Ballistics still not on the way, because k4sva is out of gold. k4sva is out of gold, ladies and gentlemen, and one thing that k4sva doesn't have any access to is gold right now. This gold mine is over here, the primary gold is gone, and that's a concern, like a massive concern for k4sva. He's got absolutely no gold. So right now what he can try to do is just sell stone, but look at his eco now. It's 35 minutes voyage idle time compared to 950, and now the knights will just run past because the cav archers are on the outside. I feel like CL's push here is actually being better and better. Mangonels taking some nice shots over here. Cav archers getting some good damage done as well. But those cav archer numbers are dropping very fast, especially with that mangonel hit. And we're down to 11 cav archers over here in this blob. And most of them will get cleaned up. Remember, no husbandry. So the knights will actually be able to chase these guys down. And now k4sva has fallen apart almost completely. He's got no gold to replenish his army, whereas his opponent will just overrun him with knights now. So another batch of mangonels or potentially even rams could completely destroy those ranges. And we're talking about 16 military compared to 9, as CL also takes over in terms of voyager count. So that's a sudden turn of events, partially fueled by the fact that k4sva has lost the left side of his base. I want to see what CL knows about his base, because if CL knows the good gold positions, that's actually very good map awareness. He sort of knows it, and he's keeping knights on the gold, so he knows that his opponent is starving his gold because he's denying the gold. One thing he doesn't know if k4sva has gold over here. And the thing is that there isn't any gold, but that's just pure luck for CL, because there could be extra gold left over there. So mangonels are out. As I said, battering ram here could also make quite a lot of sense. CL looping around with knights, maybe finding a couple of villagers. k4sva's stone eco, like, I assume that he may try getting a castle up to protect that gold mine or something like that. But he's got 33 villagers on stone. In fact, way too many villagers for these, or way too many villas to be able to surround this one. He actually gets the extra sheep for the TC, something that he hasn't been using right now. CL finds the other town center over here on the wood line. But for now, what's going to be a concern? And indeed, k4sva just selling all the stone. So he wants more CA. The problem is that mangonels +2/+2 knights, especially with the cav archers not having husbandry, is going to hurt very badly for k4sva. So if you take a look at the idle voyager time, that's ridiculous. 1 hour 6 minutes compared to 18 minutes over here. And behind this one, CL is having a nice and comfy 2 TC boom. Not something super complicated, in fact. I hate that there is gold miners over here for CL without a town center. If k4sva had a couple of cav archers, then he would be able to send a couple over there and do some damage. But this is basically the way that you have to fight against cav archers. You have to push the opponent's base. So if the cav archers are allowed to roam free on the map, they will just raid you to death. So what you have to do is force your opponent to defend, because the cav archers are not really good at just, you know, directly standing and fighting. That's not the type of a unit that it is. It is a unit that is good at hit and run and not stand and fight. Nice move over there from k4sva grabbing a knight to take down the mangonel. A little sloppy over there from CL. First of all, mangoing his own knights, but also losing 2 mangonels to that knight was also really sloppy. Doesn't change the fact that now k4sva has 48 eco idle out of the overall 54. He has 51 eco idle. k4sva has no actual villagers working, and he's gonna get his army cleaned up. 52 out of 53. Are we actually gonna have any working villagers for k4sva right now? 1 on wood, 1 on food, so there is still some villagers working. But obviously, k4sva's eco has completely collapsed over here, and it seems like CL is very close to his second win over here. So far he has won Arabia, and seems like both players are just winning their own home maps over here, because unless a miracle happens, k4sva is not going to be able to pull this one back. 700 army value against 2.6k, 20 villagers deficit, and k4sva's eco is like completely idle right now. And there will be knights coming in here as well, hitting it. And we haven't even talked about the fact that k4sva has no access to gold, which once again is just... Obviously, he can start selling stone and buy himself some time with that, but that's not even going to be remotely enough. And his opponent is just thriving, so at this point, CL doesn't need to do anything special. He can just boom behind this one because k4sva's eco is so weak. He will obviously press on, just to make sure that k4sva is unable to access that gold mine. And k4sva is down to 49 villagers, 10 army overall. And eventually tries to sneak some villagers out to the left side, but I think this is too late for that now. Like, he's gonna have no army, and even though the mangonels keep going down, because k4sva is doing an excellent job sniping them, at the end of the day, k4sva actually has no villagers working for him, so... when you have 11 villagers working, your opponent can do whatever they want, and they will still win, because 11 villagers will not allow you to replenish your army whatsoever, so... k4sva is down to 52 villagers, no army over here. I don't know what he's waiting for tapping out in this one, but he's like omega dead. And look at CL's perception. He knows about the gold mines. He knows exactly that his opponent is really starving for gold. And it seems like k4sva, at this pace, he's gonna get defeated. Because all of these villagers are going down. I honestly don't know what k4sva is thinking right now in this game. Like, does he still think there's a chance? You know that meme that so you're telling me there is a chance? I think the final thing that triggered that GG was that he saw that knight on that gold mine. Maybe he was still hoping that he can somehow steer this back. But this was out of control for a long time. Basically, ever since k4sva ran out of gold and he lost his cav archers in this crucial engagement, CL was in the driver's seat of this one. And as I said, it seems like CL and k4sva are winning their own home maps. And with that, we'll have to go to k4sva's home map. The Magyars are gone for CL, and the Tatars are gone for k4sva. And as I said, the other home map for k4sva will be Cross. So it should be Persians or Huns over here versus Japanese, I would assume, from CL. So let me open up that recorded game, and then we'll be able to get into the next one. So indeed, we're going to Cross. And with that, I'm going to welcome you to the map known as Four Lakes, or legacy name Cross. We'll have k4sva playing as Huns on the right side in red. No surprise about that one. Left side is going to be CL playing as Malians. Now that is a little bit surprising over here. It is totally understandable, because Malians are a very underrated civilization on hybrid maps, and could sort of act as a counter to Huns as well. So if Huns go for knights very heavily, then Malians can mix in their own camos. Huns don't really have a great answer to Malian champions with the extra Pierce armor, so there is good answers from Malians to Huns over here, so that might be the reason why CL is picking this. But it also means that he's not going to be using Japanese. Maybe he wanted to use Japanese on Bay, but then he changed his mind and went for Mongols. I honestly don't know, because the last map is Gold Rush, and Japanese there wouldn't really make a lot of sense. So maybe he was expecting another Civ sniped by his opponent, and he thought, okay, what if I lose my whatever Civ I had? Mongols, for example. Maybe if he loses Mongols to a snipe, then he could have gone for Japanese on Bay. Anyways, k4sva, one game behind. As I said, he's not one of those players that shies away from laming when he's given the opportunity, and I think he's going to look for his opponent, trying to get some fishing eco up over there. But with the scout, CL is going to be able to scare that scout away very nicely. We got some scout smikes over here, but at the end of the day, I think k4sva, if he's just losing, he will just head back to his base, and he is losing, so he will just run back to his base. CL will disengage. So no major surprise about that, but I like the fact that CL is actually keeping his scout over here, because this prevents k4sva from pushing in there. k4sva is at 8 HP, CL is at 15, so k4sva isn't able to push deer here, as he has 4 fishing eco working for him. Other side, we also have 4 fishing ships, make it 5 now from CL, who is going for some early bows over here. And it seems like there is an attempt for a sneaky villager somewhere. There it is. The villager is coming to the other side, or it might just be for like a neutral pawn and boom behind that one, but 4 on gold or 3 on gold at minimum is a clear sign that you want to make fire galleys already. I think he wants to loop all the way around, and we'll see if that's going to happen, because k4sva is walling this part of his base, but it seems like this villager may even be able to sneak past if K4sva isn't actually able to ward it off in time. That being said, if you take a look at K4sva's POV, oh, that's so bad for K4sva. He has no idea that this is open. I think he thinks that this is a closed wood line, and that would probably be understandable, to be honest. Obviously, he still needs to scout this one, as he is bringing a scout only. He doesn't have a forward Voyager, but as I said, he thinks that this is closed. And his game plan is to wall off his entire pond, as you see over here, so there is no sneaky Voyager on it. Now, luckily for him, I think he's going to spot the dog because he's doing a very smart thing with one of the fishing ships. You send it to the fish that is close to this corner, because that allows you to spot a potential fire galley play from your opponent. But now K4sva is going to be forced to defend his own pond over here, and now K4sva is going to pull a Voyager to try and bash him through these walls. CL reacts instantly, and now he's going to try to wall himself off. Scout is also coming in here from K4sva. Look at those quick walls from CL, that's actually beautiful. And K4sva is going to have to go for a second dock over here, which is something that he may not have wanted, because he's got a Voyager over here, so I assume he wanted to dock over here, but instead he's going to have to defend over here for now. Now, look at this. K4sva is just going to say, okay, whatever, I'm going to wall you off here, and you're not escaping. So that's what K4sva's mindset is about this one, and there's the other dock coming in. And in the meanwhile, K4sva actually wants to drop a dock over here as well. Will be spotted by CL Scout, but CL Scout loses his life, and we're gonna have scouts coming in here from K4sva, whereas for CL, it seems like he's going for no land military, so I like K4sva's game plan a lot more here. K4sva is going to be aggressive on land, which will force CL to defend, and more importantly, he's contesting multiple pawns. I would like to add that Four Lakes was a pretty common map in the ranked map pool, and as I said, K4sva plays an awful lot of 1v1s in ranked. Like, he plays 4, 5, 6 hours every day or so, which is a lot of time, and that means that he's got quite a lot of experience on this map as well. And Fire Galley pops out as well. K4sva retreating for the time being. Scouts trying to get in here, unsuccessful so far. And K4sva apparently is trying to spot if his opponent is sneaking a dock up on him, but the Voyager has already passed over here by CL, so he might sneak a dock around over there. Not sure if K4sva knows about that. In the meanwhile, we will have a dock up here for K4sva as well. And I think the idea is that this Voyager now moves in and tries to dock over here and start pushing CL's fishing eco. That being said, CL does have a 2 Voyagers lead right now, probably coming from the fact that there's a demo. There's a demo over here, and that could be a nice split from K4sva. Indeed, it actually is a beautiful split, and will need to repair that fire galley, but that's a good fight for K4sva over there, unless he loses his fire galley. And indeed, now CL is trying to take down fishing ships, but honestly this is good for K4sva, because if he's able to clean up this up, he can still rebuild his fishing eco. Obviously, it's not ideal to lose fishing ships, but it's obviously better for him to just destroy those fire galleys and lose some HP on the fishing ships than actually losing his fire galleys. That being said, he kind of needs to start pushing this one over here. You could also justify galley from K4sva, so he's able to kill this Voyager. Because if you kill that Voyager, there is going to be no repairs for CL, and he's almost guaranteed to lose that pond. K4sva once again is going for double docks on this pond to actually protect his fishing ships, because CL already has the dock up here. But this is important, K4sva's got the scouts here, so this Voyager will not be able to repair, and that's a massive difference. Whereas the Voyager from K4sva will actually be able to do repairs. But it's also worth noting that while K4sva is too busy booming on all 4, well, not all 4 pawns, because this is something that he's just pushing it himself, CL is going into Castle Age. And that is a pretty massive advantage, to be honest, for CL over there, because he could get the War Galley upgrade, he could get Knights out, he could get Camels out. Now, as I said, this is supposed to be cleaned up, and eventually K4sva's food eco is going to start showing, so obviously right now CL is gonna have better cast stage time because he didn't invest into scouts, he didn't have to invest into that many docks and fire galleys. However, eventually this fishing eco is going to start propelling K4sva into a victory, so, or at least not a victory, but a massive advantage. The fishing eco needs time to kick in, but when it kicks in, it's gonna be crazy. I'm somewhat surprised that K4sva is making fire galley here first. You could really make a case for a galley, just to start pushing the fishing eco of your opponent very fast. Like Galikia's fishing ship so fast, and Sia has no idea about this one. So Sia absolutely has no idea that there is a dock up on his pond, and that's going to help K4sva immensely, because K4sva can wait a little bit to unleash these ships, and by the time Sia is going to be able to react, Sia is going to start losing ships over here. Sia also loses this pond, and it seems like K4sva should be able to clean this up. Oh, that's so bad for K4sva. A free HP fire ship over here is doing so much damage. He killed one. Oh, K4sva, that's so bad. That should have never happened. That's a free HP fire guy that is going to kill 3 fishing ships. K4sva is going to lose his entire fishing eco over here, and if you look at the eco KD, it's 5-0. And even though K4sva, as I said, does have all the pawns, as the War Galley upgrade is coming in on this dock, I'm not sure if this is going to finish in time. If it finishes, it's going to help quite a bit for CL, although where is it going to help him? It's going to help him only on this pawn. That's the only pawn where it's going to help clean this up. As I said, it's very, very sloppy from K4sva that he allowed this one to happen. And in the meanwhile, we seemed like we are going to have a forward siege trap here by CL. K4sva's got a couple of scouts over here. I'm not sure if he has actually seen this, but he sees it. He obviously sees it, so he could actually pull these scouts. I think the main problem that he's having is that there's so many things to do, like fight over here. Like, you see that he still hasn't cleaned this one up over here, for example. Just build up your eco as well, and he is still not up to Castle Age. Now, here come the scouts, and as I said, you can just pick that Voyager off, and that's gonna be huge. That is gonna be enormous if that Voyager goes down. Knight will try to help out. A nice quick wall over there from CL, but that is gonna be a dead Voyager, and a Siege Workshop denied at 86%. Nice Stone Walls from K4sva to prevent the initial Knights, and it's once again gonna be a 4-range Cav Archer play from him. Yeah, it adds a couple of Knights, but in this map, I actually justify the 4-range Cav Archer play a lot better, to be honest. It's crazy that he hasn't noticed that he has lost his fishing eco over here. He could be adding fishing ships here as well, but he does not. Anyways, it sort of seems like K4sva is going to secure all pawns for himself, so soon you will start seeing the effects of that, like, insane amount of food flowing into K4sva as an eco, even though he only has 5 fishing ships right now, so he really needs to start actually adding fishing ships here. Because it's only 5 fishing ships, and there is going to be a no hole over here, so nice quick walls over there as well from K4sva. And now Cav Archers are coming in. Siege Workshop is not up just yet, and a second piece is on the way for K4sva. Still just 4 eco lead, despite the fact that he technically has 4 lakes under his control. Now fishing ships are coming out in reasonable quantities, and he still hasn't noticed this fire ship over here. I don't understand why. You could just send 1 fire galley and kill that, and start adding fishing ships over here as well. Anyways, the Siege Workshop goes up because K4sva wasn't paying attention for a moment, and the sneaky Voyager managed to get it up. Eventually the wheel is gonna get picked off, which is important because this is supposed to be the repair Voyager. So, Sia was planning to use this wheel to repair. The other thing that you could do with the Cav Archers now, if you are K4sva, is start raiding the opponent's eco though. So, yeah, you have a Siege Workshop in your face, but 1 or 2 Knights can just pick off a Mangonel. There is not really any support from CL to that. CL trying to sneak a dock up on his opponent over here, but nicely done by K4sva to patrol the shoreline, and that Voyager is not gonna get anything up. And in the meanwhile, Cav Archers about to hit this gold mine, I believe. K4sva knows about the gold mine, he knows about how the walls are placed, so he knows exactly that this is the spot to attack. A little bit sloppy that he didn't just move up to the gold mine, because now the Voyagers will have time to react. This is the first move that he should have made, but it looks like he just wants to bash his way through. Right now, CL is getting a Mangonel out, but K4sva's got Cav Archers, K4sva's got Knights, and more importantly, as I said, K4sva's actually having a very, very good food eco over here as well. A University Wall is not going to happen over here for CL, and CL has a lot of idols. 45 eco compared to 56, and K4sva's gonna have an insane and almost untouchable food eco. Like, that's the other thing, that CL's gonna have a Siege Workshop on land, sure, but is that something that you're actually going to benefit from? Like, obviously, you can start pushing the land eco of K4sva, but K4sva's eco, or at least a significant portion of it, is going to be something that you cannot touch because it's on water. So, especially if this was cleaned up, and finally it's going to get cleaned up, K4sva could just do fish over here, and fish over here. He would have 3 lakes under his control, and he's contesting the 4th one as well. We will have Camo Switch here from CL, but he doesn't have Bloodlines, doesn't have +1 defense on these guys. So, really, these guys are kind of subpar when it comes to quality. And if you look at the idle time, it's 40 minutes compared to 16 minutes. So K4sva's eco is just much better right now. It's 15 Voyager kills now to 5. So he has done a lot of damage to Sia's eco after he was able to finish off the fishing ships here. And now it's Camels, +1 defense, Bloodlines just coming in. Husbandry is going to be extremely important here for K4sva, something that he does not forget now. And one thing I'm checking if he has a University, but no, he doesn't. So no ballistics just yet, neither is Tumbling going to be a thing for him. He kind of stopped adding fishing ships, to be honest, and he could really easily add some more fish. The thing is that he only has 10 fishing ships, so it's not like that's an amazing food source, and you see that he's kind of forced to buy food. So you could really make a case for just adding a couple more fishing ships, especially because he's floating 300 wood. Nice snipe with the knights on the mangonel, and it's a lot of cav archers, and Cavos, as good as they are at, you know, just dealing with early cav archers when the cav archer numbers aren't huge, cav archers will just melt camos later on, especially if the camos only have one defense upgrade. K4sva is Boso, no horse color, but he doesn't really have a lot of farming eco, so that doesn't really make sense for him anyways. On the other side, it hurts so much more for CL that he's having on, or not having, but he's having 24 farms with no horse color. That hurts so much for him. And when Tumbling comes in, the cav archers will start being fully upgraded. I think they are still needing University and Ballistics. Indeed, that's the case. I also like that K4sva is keeping a couple of units over here to destroy that siege workshop just for safety. And we are looking at the 61 to 40 Voyager count. I think CL is still trying to just use this Voyager to something, but this guy is going to be forever idle. It looks like K4sva is going to give up on this pond over here for now, so CL may actually attempt a water reboom, but that's not really going to be a thing anytime soon, I believe. And now K4sva is adding some more fish over here, and no fish on this pond, neither on this one. Like, I could really see K4sva adding a lot more fish, so he could be up to 20-25 fishing ships by now. Obviously, he's focusing a lot on getting the cav archers out, so that's the main reason. I assume that he's planning to use all his wood on the cav archers and their upgrades. It's a lot of camels over there, but once again, I feel like the cost efficiency is not really going to be there for Sia. So as scary as it looks like for K4sva as he's dropping in numbers, it's much harder to replenish this army for CL than it is for K4sva. Very cheap cav archers as opposed to quite expensive camos over here. Obviously, K4sva lost a lot, so that's not great. I like this move as well, though. Bring in the fire galleys, and look at this narrow choke point even. This is an excellent fight for K4sva. Very good perception from him, using the walls of his opponent as an obstacle, and even the fire galleys to help out. And as I said, it's much easier for K4sva to replenish the cav archers than it is to replenish the camos for CL, and he taps out immediately. He knows that he's got no army. If you look at the score, it's very high for K4sva. And even if he didn't tap out right now, K4sva has a blob of cav archers over here, K4sva has a blob of cav archers over here, and it's not like CL's base is well defendable against cav archers, so he's got one wood line over here that is safe. This one is exposed. He's running out of this gold mine, and this gold mine is exposed to cav archers, and he was nowhere close to being able to influence K4sva's eco. So we got a series for us over here. 2-2 is the score line, and that means that we will have a decider game on CL's home map, which is going to be Gold Rush. So far, everybody has been winning their own home maps. If that tendency continues, CL is going to be victorious because he won Arabia. That would be interesting to see. If every player wins their own home maps, then the series is pretty much decided on Arabia. So for Gold Rush, we have Persians and Berbers left for K4sva, and Japanese Aztecs for CL. I'm tempted to say that I like Berbers a little bit more than Aztecs here, because it's probably going to be Aztecs Berbers on this. So Berbers should have a pretty nice matchup against Aztecs, although it sort of depends on the situation as well. And with that, we'll jump into the next game over here. This is a Gold Rush. So K4sva coming in here with Berbers indeed versus Aztecs from CL. No major surprise over here from either side. So taking a quick look at the maps of CL, he's got a beautiful gold at the back, which is extremely helpful on a map like Gold Rush. This gold is also alright, I would say, and the stone is nice too. So this is a very well defendable base overall for CL. Other side for K4sva, He's got both of his stones on the same side, which is not ideal, especially against a player that likes to tower. But this stone is defendable, even though this one isn't. It's an easy wall off here on the front, and that would protect this gold and this stone over here. This gold is also defendable if you wall like this, but we'll see if k4sva's gonna do that. It looks like he tried to block that eagle to get some TC fire on that guy, but that didn't happen. So, currently, I feel like CL is trying to deny that elephant, and one thing that you have to keep in mind is that the eagle is actually stronger than a scout in Dark Age, and it looks like CL will get away with 2 sheep being lamed from his opponent over here, because, as I said, the eagle is stronger than the standard scout, and that means that the scout cannot just go out and kill that eagle and prevent that lame. That's the problem that k4sva was facing over there, and indeed CL is going to be able to take 2 sheep here, and I think it's time to slow down the game, because have I mentioned that CL likes to tower? And he will. And the thing is that if he towers this stone mine, that's already a bad start for k4sva, because his other stone and this gold is dangerously close to that. k4sva seems like he's trying to play for what seems to be an archer uptime, but it might just be a scouts that was delayed. Indeed, there is scouts. So it is a scouts play that was delayed by the sheep being lamed over here. And there's a tower. k4sva's gonna have to counter tower. That's one interesting counter tower. The problem with that is that, yeah, this is gonna go down. But CL could still get a tower up here and get through here, and then the stone could still be problematic for k4sva. That being said, I like the reaction from k4sva. He knows exactly that this is an extremely important push, so he needs to get that tower up no matter what. So it's tower versus tower. Mantarm's already out for CL over here, and it's gonna be tricky to see how k4sva is able to wall against this one, because we have seen how many house walls he did in the first game, and one of the reasons why you do this with Aztecs is because with Aztecs you get a bunch of extra gold at the beginning of the game, so your Man-at-Arms opening is a little bit easier. That being said, the villagers are just going back home, and it's also worth noting that there were lion corpses here in the middle, so maybe the Man-at-Arms bumped into lions, which is not really the case. I'm not sure who fought those lions, but those I think are lion bodies. Because you're supposed to have lions all over the place, like, see that? And there is none over here, which makes me wonder if those are dead lions already. Anyways, the tower goes down from CL, and as if nothing happened, he is just gonna go back to his base and chill. We might even see stone walls now from him saying, okay, whatever towers didn't work, I'm just going to bail out of this one. For k4sva, he's not going to find a lot of value for his scouts, so he may just need to continue booming over here. The 2 ecos are rather comparable, and I would think that what worked for k4sva in the previous game was pretty much a Castle Age all-in-ish type of strategy. And I would think that he's gonna try something like that here as well. So most likely what we're going to witness is that house is actually pretty weak now. So what we're likely going to witness is just triple stable knights once he reaches Castle Age. And the tricky thing about stopping that is that with Aztecs, you technically have monks. However, training monks, getting the monasteries up, getting the techs in at least Sanctity for the HP upgrade takes quite a lot of time, and oftentimes you just get overrun by knights from the Berbers. And you just need one fight where the Berber player is able to take down, I don't know, 5-6 monks, and only losing 2 knights to conversion, and suddenly you have fallen behind so much, because it's much easier to mess knights from Tipo stables than it is to go for the monks. Also worth noting that the knights will have more mobility, so obviously monks don't really want to chase. The other thing that I would like to point out is that because CL actually played a Man-at-Arms Towers build over here, his food eco isn't very well developed. Whereas k4sva played scouts, and whenever you're playing scouts, your food eco is actually pretty strong, because you go for horse color early on, you start adding farms early, so it's 19 villagers on food already for k4sva, which means that he's getting close to the stage where he's thinking about going up into Castle Age. Heal will be taken here by k4sva, I believe. We'll try to micro down that spearman. Not ideal that he has focused that Man-at-Arms first. And at the end of the day, this army is going to get cleaned up. Important for k4sva is that he preserves 1 scout, because he can use this one to get some scouting in for himself. For example, relic positions, neutral resources whatsoever, going to be pretty crucial. in the long run. And as I said, K4sva is not far away from going up. The resources also look tricky because CL isn't far away either. He's gonna be able to buy some food over here, and he will, like, how much is the food price right now? Something like 120, 130. So yeah, you can buy yourself up to something like 500-600 over here. Food price is actually pretty high already, 141. But yeah, at the end of the day, the two cancellation times will be very, very close. But that actually favors the Berbers player, I believe. Because it's much easier to mass knights than whatever CL wants to do. Which I don't know what exactly is. Like, he may need to go pikeman, to be honest. Because I don't think that he can just play 4 monks here. And CL is also missing the second building that hurts so badly for him. Because otherwise he would have had a better cancellation time than K4sva, or at least comparable. Now he's gonna be behind by 10-15 seconds, which may seem significant, but it's actually not, because that 15-20 seconds is really vital when it comes to being able to drop that monastery and then getting the first couple of monks out. So it actually does matter if you have, like, the monastery up by the time the knights arrive, or if you don't have that monastery up by then. So the fact that we have a 30 seconds advantage here for K4sva could actually be pretty crucial. And there's the second stable, probably soon followed by the third one from K4sva. I am like 80% sure that K4sva wants to play triple stables here. And CL is adding eagles. For now, he sort of has to. And there's 2 forward warriors, so I don't think... Oh, that's a second barracks. So it's going to be pike and siege, which makes some sense over here, because as good as the triple stable plays from Berbers, as here comes the third stable, pikemen could cause a lot of chaos to that, and one of the things that CL could do is just play pikemen and use mangonels and this heal advantage, and that would be pretty hard for K4sva to push. Now, K4sva may actually spot that the barracks, and that would be a very, very important piece of information. No, he misses out on that for the time being. If he sees that, he knows that pikemen are coming his way, but apparently he doesn't. And this is going to be extremely important, because this pretty much means that K4sva won't be able to react to that, or at least not in time. In the meanwhile, obviously you will have to move out to the middle soon for gold for both players, but this also is what makes CL's position pretty decent over here, that he just needs to hold off K4sva from the middle, and eventually K4sva is going to run out of resources, and K4sva wanted to go for a siege workshop here on that ridge, but this just tells you how unaware he is of the fact that there is a barracks over there. Because now he will soon see, oh shoot, there is a barracks, here's a monastery, and there's a couple of spearmen already, and these knights do have +1 defense, no attack upgrades. Here in this case, you probably are better off with the attack upgrades, honestly, as scouts will be extremely important here as well for K4sva though. Because the scouts should be able to pick off the monks initially, and honestly, there is quite a lot of knights on the field here. The monastery goes up, as K4sva is going to have to delete that siege workshop. But there is a lot of knights, and spearmen alone won't be stopping knights over here, especially if K4sva's micro is good. There is going to be monks, but they have 0 upgrades. And the one thing that makes like the knights from Berbers very dangerous is that they're so cheap that you can just quickly overrun your opponent with it, and you see that, boom, we have 1 spearman, 1 eagle versus what's already 6-7 knights very soon, and they're bashing down this wall. There is a siege workshop here for potentially what could be a mangonel or scorpion. Monk is out, but like the monk could actually pop out on this side, and that would be the play for CL. He needs to pop that monk out on this side, because then he could get a conversion from a safe monk. The wall is slowly going down, and these villagers are going to die now. Pikeman, I think, is in for CL, and the villagers are now going to die. And with this wall breached, it also means that the monk has no good position to pop out. This is looking extremely good for K4sva right now. There will be pikemen coming in with additional monks, which is going to be a little bit troublesome for K4sva. But he could get a couple of scorpions for himself, and that should be able to solve the problem. Now he needs to dive in on the monks, gets 1 monk killed. I think there might have been 1 conversion. No, there is no conversion. Oh yeah, there is. There was 1 knight over there. The problem with the pikeman play, especially with those pikemen not having a lot of upgrades, is that it takes, like, the knight numbers initially are just much better, and they're able to push back the pikemen so easily. So you really need to be able to mess those pikemen to win this, but you only have 2 barracks here right now if you are CL, but we are seeing more and more monks. It's actually 3 monasteries. You really need sanctity here though, otherwise light cap will just dive in, and honestly, 1, 2, 3 hits, If you are K4sva right now, you're really thinking about either adding light cab or just potentially diving in. That's actually a very nice fight once again for K4sva. He's gonna lose the Scorpion, but he lost 2 knights to conversion, but traded it off to what was something like 3-4 monks. And behind this one, the Scorpion is still alive. Sanctity now coming in here for CL, but the barracks is going down over here as well, which will mean that CL will only be on 1 barracks right now, which isn't going to allow him to go for a lot of pikemen, and that allows K4sva to go for a lot of scouts. In fact, for K4sva, you could even make a case for light cav now. That was a nice move over there from CL sniping that Scorpion. Indeed, here comes the light cav upgrade. For K4sva now it's 50 HP on those monks, so it's a little bit trickier, and there's a lot of pikemen around as well. But there's 1 monk sniped, and there's another monk sniped. It's going to be 1 scout converted, but 1 scout traded for 2 monks is absolutely nice. Oh, no, the monk survives. The monk actually survives, at least for the brief moment, and now it's gonna get taken down. Nice move once again for CL to use the converted knights to take down the siege workshop. It's actually doing a very, very good job doing that, and it seems like K4sva is sort of stalled out when it comes to unit production. Yeah, he's just not producing units. What happened to K4sva here? Oh, he wants to transition to camel archers, which actually makes a lot of sense. If you think about that, the problem is that this transition may be a bit too early, because the thing is that you need a lot of time for that, like an awful lot of time, and I think you don't have that much time right now. I like the idea of the camel archer transition and adding villagers to stone, but I feel like you need to keep adding knights and light cavalry here, and that is something that K4sva kind of stopped doing. And if you get redemption over here for CL, you could actually start converting buildings. And it could be something as well. Still, K4sva is completely fine, and he's getting close to dropping a castle here. One thing that's concerning for him is that... oh, he still has a gold mine here, so he's not going to run out of gold anytime soon. And one thing that we could see is maybe a house deleted and the knights looping all the way around and sandwiching this army in between another patch of knights coming from these stables. Yeah, indeed, there is the house deleted. And we also have a Scorpion. No mangonels though, right now. +2 attack is coming in as well. And K4sva was sent 27 villagers to stone. Does he not see the other stone mine or what? Or gold mine? He sees the other gold mine. Not sure why he's actually not going over there. He's almost there in terms of a castle placement, and I would be surprised to see if this castle wasn't here. Monk pops out. We'll try to get a conversion on a pikeman, and so he does. And it looks like the knights will loop around. That's actually an interesting idea from K4sva, but makes sense. CL doesn't have a lot of siege to push here, so this is a slow push, and K4sva could actually make a case for trying to run into the opponent's eco here. The gate was, I think, briefly opened, but K4sva wasn't able to run inside, loses a knight to conversion, and could lose a couple more knights over here as well, which isn't ideal, really. And now his base is being pushed down. If he wants to transition to camel archers, he kind of has to start going for that. He's gonna have husbandry and bloodlines on them, as he will have fletching soon as well, I assume. The problem is gonna be tumbling, problem is gonna be ballistics more importantly, and that mangonel could actually be pretty dangerous if CL sees that castle. CL sees the castle but doesn't react to that one in time, which means that that castle is probably going up and CL will change the angle of attack. That's a lot of monks though, and that's the main problem that K4sva is facing over here. He just kind of stopped making knights. If he just kept on going with the knights, he could have killed those monks, and then he would still have something like 10-15 knights remaining. He will try to sandwich this army now, as now comes the siege workshop. That could be a nice snipe on the mangonel, and now knights will dive in on the monks. That's actually a very, very good fight for K4sva, believe it or not. Takes down 2 monks. Wasn't really as good as I thought it would be. Lost a couple of knights to conversion. Now the knights will pop out and go for the other mangonel, but there is so many monks for CL. So many monks for CL, and remember, these guys have Sanctity, even have Fervor, I think. They do have 55 HP, so they have 1 more monk tech. The question is what that monk tech is, but I would say that Fervor seems a lot of sense over here, just chasing that army. And now the knights from K4sva are going down, camel archers are coming in, but only fletching on those guys, and the thing is that there's quite a lot of knights with +1 defense over here running around. Still, this game is not completely over because the camel archers could easily turn everything that the CL has into toast, but now there's a camel archer transition. We may just see eagle warriors being added once again by CL, and those converted knights are actually being pretty annoying right now. Like, that's a lot of converted knights that are just chasing down those camel archers. And more importantly, the botkin arrow missing for K4sva hurts so badly. He doesn't have the food, he doesn't have the gold for that right now, so his eco did definitely take a significant impact from this push over here, so a lot of farms are denied. He's floating a lot of wood, and he lost his market right now. That actually hurts so badly. I just wanted to say that all he needs to do is just balance out his eco using a market, but that's not going to be a thing anymore, or at least not soon. Now it's a redemption on those monks. It's actually redemption. And that means that we have the Siege Workshop almost converted. One Camel Archer also gets converted over here in the Carnage. And I think the problem that K4sva is facing right now is once again that he doesn't have eco. 3 Voyagers on food, 31 on wood. And in comparison to this one, CL is having a 2 TC play here. K4sva is on 3 TCs. That's nice, but it's not like he has the food eco to keep those working by any means. So, and as I said, he lost his market. Gets another castle up over here. His unit composition is still going to be good enough to beat what we're seeing from CL, and that could be a Siege Workshop converted. Once again, would be very, very sloppy if K4sva allowed that one, but it seems like he will, because that isn't getting destroyed, nor is it getting stubbed, so that's a converted Siege Workshop by CL. K4sva tries a counterattack, but still without botkin arrow and the ballistics on those, and it seems like CL is thinking about going into Imperial here, most likely dropping a castle and start grabbing the buildings down here. CL now in a very, very good position, and as I said, I feel like the Camel Archer transition may have been a little too early from K4sva. Like, he tried going for that, but that meant that he kind of gave up on his Knights play, and he just got overrun by monks. So if he kept going with triple stable Knights and potentially even more light cav, he could have probably won against the monks, or at least make it pretty uncomfortable for CL. Now K4sva is like balancing his eco like crazy, but as I said, CL is on the way to Imperial, whereas K4sva, that is just a distant dream for him. And as I said, K4sva has improved an awful lot in recent memory when it comes to his tournament performances. He's playing in a lot of medium-sized tournaments. He's one of the candidates to win Euro Rumble, which is a 3,500 euro prize pool tournament for European players only that haven't passed 2400 rating until the sign-up deadline. So the thing is that K4sva's got a lot of good things working for him, but there are still pieces missing. As far as I know, now that he has signed with Fenerbahce eSport, as you see, the FB in his name actually is the esports organization of the Turkish soccer team Fenerbahce. I think he is gonna go full-time with that contract, and that could allow him to improve even further, but this seems like Hidden Cup 4 isn't going to be the tournament where he's going to be able to accomplish much. He got a tough opponent here, I'm going to give him that. Like, this is probably one of the closest seeds that there was in the tournament, and you see why. Like, as I said, I don't have the seeds in my head, but just based on the level of gameplay, on how even it was, there were mistakes from both sides, and at the end of the day, on how close this series became, I think it's fairly obvious that these two players were very, very close in seeding and in terms of overall skill. So when this castle goes up, we're going to have Atlatl skirms from CL as well, which also works nicely. I mean, K4sva doesn't really have the eco to switch back into Knights, but even if he had it, there is Spearman protecting this part of the base, and I wouldn't be surprised to see K4sva tapping out of this one once he sees his opponent is being an Imperial, because this goes nowhere from this point on for K4sva. Like, the traps will take down the castle, and K4sva is never going to reach Imperial, and he doesn't have a unit composition that's capable of beating what CL has. K4sva not resigning just yet, but he's also on a timer, by the way, because he doesn't have gold. CL has a very, very firm control over the middle, so multiple TCs, castle on the ridge. So even block printing is coming in right now for CL. I think that block printing, for me, makes me feel like he may think that K4sva is up as well. That's what I can think about. Because you would be making block printing alongside Redemption to convert Bombard Cannon. Otherwise, there is not really any point of getting block printing for these monks anymore. So I would think that CL doesn't know that K4sva is nowhere close to imping here, which is a surprising turn of events. Now, K4sva is not going to give up on this easily, but as I said, this is a game that's probably gonna be gone very soon for him. Obviously, this is his tournament life on the line, and also worth noting that it was close. This was a close series, and he probably is feeling like, oh shoot, I don't want to lose like this. I could have won this. I am fairly certain that after a series, if he loses here, he's going to say, I could have won this. And think back to the Arabia game. Maybe if his food eco doesn't collapse over there, and he was in a position to win that game, but his food eco was just an absolute mess. And at the end of the day, if CL wins here, every player has won his own home map. But Arabia may decide the outcome of the overall series. Now, K4sva seems like he's gonna try playing an all-in Castle Age here, but once again, unless he's able to just raid the opponent's eco to absolute junk, how is he going to survive? I have no idea. And as I said, there is quite a lot of skirms over here for CL, and more importantly, how is K4sva going to get gold? That's the question that I don't have an answer for, although he's trying to sneak out Voyagers here, so hold on. I may have spoken too soon, because CL doesn't really have an awful lot of numbers over here on the field, but it's getting higher and higher, and he also has the hill advantage. K4sva trying to get TC up here, that will be intercepted, and CL will know immediately that, like, he could either just drop a castle here, as he's dropping the castle over there, which may be a little bit too ambitious to my taste. The TC here is gonna go up, but this castle, the reason why this castle is going up here is because he tries to cut off K4sva from moving to the middle, who has lost 2 of his castles here. He lost his starting TC, and as much as K4sva wants this one, I feel like this ship is gone. So there were moments for K4sva. In fact, he was pretty much very competitive in this series, and I think he probably could have even won it, but small things decided the outcome of the series. Indeed, K4sva taps out and wishes a good luck for CL in the next round in what was probably the most balanced series in the entire qualifiers. As I said many times, these YouTube casts from my side are all attempting to be spoiler-free, so I'm not going to say anything that is related to the other series. But I can tell you this much, but even if you just look at the scoreline, you can tell that this was one of the closest series in the entire Hidden Cup for qualifiers. CL a well-deserved win. I think K4sva has shown that he can play very competitive in a major tournament. As I said, he's still on the stage of improving, and he's right now one of those players that is extremely good in medium and like small to medium-sized tournaments, but big tournaments are a little bit too much for him still in terms of like competition and the opponents that he's getting. But as I said, as far as I know, K4sva is or will be playing full-time as the member of his esports club. And that could mean that he continues improving. One thing is sure, K4sva has improved an awful lot compared to what we have seen from him a year ago. So he's definitely one of the players that keeps improving and improving. We'll see how far he can go over here. And with that, K4sva is out of Hidden Cup 4. CL advances to the next round.